Gentlemen, and on behalf of the Village of Cary and the Board of Zoning, Planning, and Appeals, I'd like to hereby call this meeting to order on this Thursday, July the 17th, 2025. The time is 6 p.m. We have a quorum of members, and at this time, I'd ask our Director of Community Development, Mr. Brian Simmons, to please call the roll.
Cassiter?
Here.
Trandell?
Here.
O'Laughlin?
Here.
Williams?
Here.
Kretschmer?
Here.
Graziano?
Here.
Corey?
Here. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we invite you to rise with us for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thanks very much, everyone, and welcome. So I think what I'll try and do as best I can is set the table for tonight's meeting, and maybe I can begin with the podium up here so you understand who's seated here. The gentleman to my right, your left, this is Attorney Scott Euler. He is counsel for the Village of Cary, and I know he happens to be very well regarded within the legal community. And as a matter of fact, he recently provided training and education to this very committee that's seated up here, and we found it very useful. And here's the important part. Mr. Euler didn't have to do it. He chose to do it. And I think that speaks volumes to his commitment to the Village of Cary and the character of the man. So thank you very much for that, Mr. Euler. And then Mr. Simmons. Mr. Simmons has been an employee of the village now for about 10 years. So a belated happy 10th anniversary, Mr. Simmons. And all of us on the ZPA committee work hand in glove with Mr. Simmons. He is, in fact, our business liaison on this committee. And all of us know Mr. Simmons to be very bright, very easy to work with, and very even-keeled, even in sensitive applications. The remaining balance of people seated up here are, in fact, ZPA commissioners. And so I'll begin here. This is Mr. Neil Williams at the end, Mr. Eric Kretschmer, Mr. James Graziano, myself, Patrick Corey, Ms. Julie Castetter, Ms. Holly Trandell, and Mr. Frank O'Laughlin. All of us reside right here in the Village of Cary. Now, I know that each and every one of the commissioners are professionals in their own right. I know that when they come to these meetings, they are fully prepared. And to try to create some context for you tonight, this is the application from the petitioner. It is literally 4 inches thick and nearly 1,000 pages long. So the point of that is that I know each of the commissioners that came here tonight have read it, and that does not even include Mr. Simmons' staff overview of the petition. So a lot of effort has gone into this meeting, and I have every confidence that the commissioners are prepared like they always are. The way we do our work on this committee is around land use. That's what we do as a committee. And what that means is that anytime there's a change in a map amendment, a text amendment, a conditional use permit, variances, that's where we get involved. So the petitioner here tonight is seeking relief from those areas, and that's why we're having the meeting. It's incumbent upon the petitioner tonight to demonstrate that they're meeting the standards of our municipal ordinances, known as the Unified Development Ordinance. It is incumbent upon the petitioner to demonstrate beyond a preponderance of the evidence that they have met that standard. It's not up to us, it's up to them to demonstrate that they're meeting the standards of our Unified Development Ordinance. And you'll hear more about that language as the night unfolds. I know that might be a little bit new. The way the meeting will unfold is that Mr. Simmons will give us an overview of the application, and then upon conclusion, members of the ZPA may have questions for Mr. Simmons, a very common process for us here at the ZPA. Once we conclude that portion, we turn it over to the petitioner, and this is a big application. They're probably going to have a lot of comments to offer after Mr. Simmons' overview. Again, members of the ZPA may have questions for the petitioner. Once we conclude that portion of the meeting, I know all of you are here to potentially comment on the application. So I'll try to explain at a high level of what we're doing here tonight. This committee works in a quasi-judicial capacity. Think of it as a courtroom. There's some similarities and there's some differences. What you're doing tonight during public comment is offering testimony. What we're trying to do here is findings of fact and take those findings of fact against the standards of the petition. So when you come forward to speak on the petition tonight, please state your name and address. If you don't know, I know some of you have been to village boards meetings. We're actually live tonight on this meeting, and we ask that you state your name and address for the record. Now, where it's a little different, and I know some of you are here that have presented at the village board meetings, We do not time you. There is no time frame at all for each of you to testify. I will say this in advance. If everybody wants to come forward and speak for 15 or 20 minutes, have at it. We may not get through the entire application tonight, and if we don't, that's perfectly acceptable. We've continued meetings in the past. The other thing that I should tell you about to manage expectations is that if you have questions directed at us as the ZPA, please don't have an expectation that we're responding back to you. That's not part of the process. However, I can assure you that each and every one of us seated up here is open-minded. If we think we can quickly respond to a question to move the discussion down the path, we'll happily do that. But if you have an expectation there's going to be this question and answer between ourselves and yourself, that's not the way it works. Conversely, if you have questions for the petitioner, it's the same process. They're not going to be responding back to you. But when we do get to public comment, what we will do is ask the petitioner to catalog the questions and the comments, and then during rebuttal, to come back and respond to those questions and comments. So that's the process that we're going to solve for tonight, okay? So before I begin an administrative matter, I want to check with the petitioners first to see if there's any questions about our process tonight. Okay. And for all of you here within the public, is there anything that we can address before we begin? All right, it's a pretty straightforward process. Some of the language that I use will become more apparent as the evening unfolds. So, ladies and gentlemen of the please? Yeah, please, Mr. Euler. Yeah. So, Mr. Euler, always excellent counsel, he's suggesting that if we go long tonight, we may have to continue. And so I don't know if we want to agree now collectively that we may want to put a hard stop on tonight's meeting, or do we want to just say we're at a certain time and see where we are in the process at 8 o'clock, 8:30, and see where that takes us? Or do we want to say the meeting's going to go till X, and then we're just going to hard stop it? So it's a question.
I was going to make that suggestion to you that we say 9 o'clock.
Okay.
I'd agree.
People speak till you get tired.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair comment. So I think what we should do here is agree collectively, and I think that's an excellent comment, Mr. Graziano, and thank you, Mr. Euler, that we'll call 9 o'clock the hard stop. Now, what we can do is that if we find that we have people that still want to speak, that's our reason for continuing the meeting. There may be other reasons for continuing the meeting, by the way, but I want to assure everyone that's assembled here, anyone that wants to speak is going to be given that opportunity, full stop. And if it's at 9 o'clock and there's a few more people that want to speak and then we have to come back at a future date and time, we've already had that discussion tonight. More than likely, that would occur on August the 7th, which is a Thursday. We've already had that discussion that we would probably, if we had to continue, and I'm going to ask now publicly to the commissioners that if we have to reconvene on August the 7th, that all of you would be available. Okay? You will not.
I'm having hip surgery, so
Oh,
we'd
well.
have to have, how about August the 6th?
Well, we'll cross that bridge toward the latter part of the 9 o'clock hour and see where that takes us. But we'll say we're going to have a hard stop at 9 o'clock, and we'll probably take a break for bio break and see where we are in the process, okay? So now coming back to an administrative matter, all the commissioners here have meeting minutes from our last meeting of June the 12th, and I'm going to do this via voice vote in a minute, but just want to confirm that you've read the meeting minutes. There are 3 cases. There was the Mildred Ave application, there was District 26 at Three Oaks, and then there was the final one, which is the ATM at 700 Northwest Highway. Does anyone have any concerns about the meeting minutes?
Oh, okay.
Mr.
No.
Graziano?
I finally found one.
Of course you did.
The last case, 05-002, the vote was actually 5-1 pass, not 5-0.
And I wonder who that one was, Mr. Graziano. Would you like to educate the public?
It's irrelevant.
Well, we have to put it in the record.
It's in there.
Okay.
The nay is in there, but the total is 5-0 instead of.
So we scored wrong, is what you're saying, Mr. Graziano. Thank you very much for the clarification. So what Mr. Graziano is talking about is that on the ATM application, one of the members voted nay, and the record reflects 5-0, and it should reflect not that number. So Mr. Simmons is going to make the correction? Yep. And then I just noticed another issue with the other one. All right, is that another error?
No, it's just the
All right, so with those two corrections, those in favor of approving the meeting minutes from June the 12th in the three cases, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much, everyone. So now I am going to call Village Case 24 ZPA 12002. This is for the Damish Farm property located along Route 31. The petitioner is Fiducio Real Estate Development Company, and they're seeking 5 different approvals. Approval of an amendment to the Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map, 2. Approval of a zoning map amendment, 3. Approval of a final plat of subdivision, 4. Approval of a mixed-use development containing zoning departures from the Unified Development Ordinance, and 5. Approval of a variance to the McHenry County Stormwater Ordinance, Article 6, Section B, Paragraph 5D, Item 1, 3I. Over to you, Mr. Simmons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As mentioned, the request this evening is regarding the, what's commonly referred to as the Damish property. It's a property that's located on the east side of Route 31, just south of the Walmart Shopping Center in adjacent Crystal Lake, and west of the Cambria subdivision. As mentioned, the approvals that are requested this evening are highlighted on the slide, but existing zoning for the property is B2 Shopping Center.
Okay, question. The TVs, were those supposed to be on or
Oh,
no?
thanks.
Yeah, make it easier for people to see.
Yes. I didn't realize those were not on. Yeah. So the existing property is zoned B2 Shopping Center Business District. It's a commercial zoning designation for the property. The approvals that the petitioner is requesting this evening include a comprehensive plan amendment, which would change the future land use for the property from commercial to both commercial and multifamily to accommodate the proposed development. There also is a proposed map amendment to rezone the property. Current zoning, again, is the B2 Shopping Center Business District. They would rezone the majority of the property to the R3 multifamily residential district, but also a portion along Route 31 would remain that B2 Shopping Center Business District. Additionally, the petitioner is asking for approval of a final plat of subdivision for the property, which would create the lots of record for the proposed development, and then the planned development for the residential portion of the development, which would include a residential rental community of 360 units with approximately 5 zoning departures. Those would include building setbacks along the New Haven Drive proposed extension, setback along the interior access roadway, which is to the west of the residential proposed development, and then reduction in the required off-street parking spaces for the development, an increase in the proposed density for the development, and then modifications to sign ordinance for additional monument signs. After the petitioner provides their presentation, staff will kind of have additional portion of our presentation after that to provide more detail on those requests as well to indicate what the ZPA would be reviewing and voting on this evening. And then finally, the other relief that's being requested this evening is a variance for a stormwater management ordinance for the county, McHenry County Stormwater Management Ordinance. The village is a certified community within the McHenry County, which means that we have the ability to administer that ordinance at a local level, and that includes variances as may from time to time be requested of the ordinance. It's not an item that has come up in the past, in the last 10 years for projects that we've had, but that is a procedure for relief that's in that ordinance that we have the ability to administer, and the review body would be the zoning board from that standpoint. There's more information on that within the staff report as well. A brief history on the property. Dating back to 1992 was the first time that it was accommodated for within the village's comprehensive plan. The Centennial Plan that was approved by the village in the early 90s had designation for the property for business park development. That was consistent with the majority of the property located in the western portion of town for future development along the Route 31 corridor. The property was formally annexed into the village of Cary in 1999 as part of the Cambria development, which included 3 major areas for potential development, which included the subject property. As part of that annexation, the property was zoned to B2 Shopping Center Business District, and the land use was changed at that time from business park to commercial. Additionally, as part of that annexation was the development of the Cambria subdivision. That was zoned R3 multifamily and R2 single family to accommodate that development, and the land use was changed related to that development from business park to residential within the comp plan. Also, the third parcel that came in with that development was then Sage Products, now Stryker. That property was zoned BP Business Park, and the land use in the comprehensive plan was zoned or changed from commercial to business park, and now that property is zoned M for manufacturing use. Just an overview as far as the development of the western portion of the village, as far as going back to 1980s, just to kind of show how the community has expanded that area and to the subject development. The red line on this map shows the village boundaries dating back to 1980 when the Greenfield subdivision, industrial subdivision, and industrial drive was developed. And then as various annexations occurred over the next 20 years, the boundaries grew. With kind of the village planning efforts, long-range planning generally has good planning policy to accommodate for future growth of the community. And when the Greenfield subdivision was developed, there were various roadway that were dead-ended at the edge of the village boundaries at the time to accommodate future growth. And those are indicated on the slide as far as where the arrows were. Primarily include Main Street, Hampton, Georgetown, and Asbury Lanes, in addition to additional local roadways to the south. When the Cimarron area was annexed into the village in 1985, there was basically three large developments that occurred within that area, including the Cimarron subdivision, the New Haven townhomes, and also the Caper Junior commercial subdivision, which is where the municipal building is currently located. As part of those expansion, or the expansion of the village, the roadways that were dead-ended at the edge of the village were extended into those areas, and specifically to the north included Hampton Street, Georgetown Drive, and Asbury Lane, and then also Industrial Drive was connected further to the west for development. When the Cimarron subdivision was developed, there were additional future access points that were established, specifically with the construction of New Haven Drive and Cimarron Drive for future access to the west, and then Georgetown Drive was extended north to actually intersect with Three Oaks Road. In 1999, as mentioned, the subject property was part of a larger annexation, which included the Cambria subdivision. As part of that development, the roadways for New Haven Drive and Cimarron Drive were extended into the new development, and then Sage Parkway was also constructed and intersected with Three Oaks Road. As part of that development, there were plans for future roadway connections, which included two parcels that were dedicated to the village of Cary for the potential future extension of New Haven Drive to the west, and also a lot was dedicated to the village along Summerhill Lane for a future potential connection further south should the surrounding property eventually develop. Obviously, since that time period, Hoffman Park was annexed into the village and incorporated by the Park District, so the future development of the areas south of this area has not occurred where those connections were necessary. This slide, again, gives information as far as the comprehensive plan and guidance for future roadway extensions within the village. The 1992 plan did envision potential westerly access roads, potentially going through what is now the Hoffman Park property, or the extension of Main Street. And that plan predated the annexation of the subject property and surrounding area in 1999. Following the development of the Cambria subdivision and other properties in the area, the 2015 plan was adopted. And again, there was references in the plan for potential westerly access, potentially extending New Haven Drive out to Route 31, which is illustrated in this slide. Also, within the 2021 Algonquin-Cary sub-area plan, there is guidance relating to the potential connection of roadways further to the west. The petition that's provided for this evening will, as indicated in the slide, does include the proposed extension of New Haven Drive as part of the development. That was at the request of the village as part of the comprehensive plan to be provided as part of the plans. Certainly is up for discussion this evening along with the remaining of the development. But as the petitioner will provide additional information on their development, staff is happy to answer any questions you may have. But just want to give a brief overview of the history of the area and then also the petition as proposed. So if there's any questions that the DPA has of myself at this point, happy to answer them. Otherwise, we can turn over to the developer to provide their presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. So I know I have some questions, but let me defer to members of the ZBA first.
I only have one question, Brian. What is the variance on the county stormwater management plan? What is that variance? I missed it in here in all my reading.
Yeah, after the developer's presentation, can give more information on that.
Okay.
They're requesting relief for the drawdown time for detention basins. So the maximum time that you can draw down the basin within the stormwater ordinance is 72 hours. They're asking for an increase to that to 96 hours.
Okay. Thank you. I missed that in my,
Other questions from members of the ZBA?
what's that?
So, Mr. Simmons, maybe I can just follow on to Mr. O'Laughlin, just so we're clear. Was another staff report sent out this evening?
There are slight modifications to the staff report that were provided in the dais this evening.
Thank you very much. And was that sent out at about 4:30 PM?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Mr. Simmons, maybe at a high level, can you explain what a comprehensive plan is?
Sure. The comprehensive plan is a land use policy document that is adopted by the municipality for helping make this long-term planning decisions. It's a long-term planning document, generally covers development activities within the community ranging 10 to 20 years, depending on the type of growth that a community is seeing. The village has had a comprehensive plan dating back to the 1960s. There's been various updates to that throughout the years. When the village was seeing significant growth in the 70s and 80s, those plans were updated on almost a 10-year time period. Now with the village being more established and not seeing significant growth as far as new annexations and development, it's more of a 10 to 20-year type plan at this point. It's generally used as a tool to help make land use decisions. It's not set in stone, if you will. There's various guidance that's in there to anticipate the type of development that the village may see, but certainly the development trends may differ from the plan when it's established, and there's flexibility with the plan, with a comprehensive plan that the village can modify it to adapt. And that would, from a historical perspective, focusing on the 1992 plan versus the 2015 plan, a lot of the property that was to the western side of the village was planned for business park development. The village had envisions of more industrial type growth or office type growth in the early 90s. That did not materialize due to market conditions, and then the village is able to pivot based on the development interest that they're receiving, and that's where the Cambria subdivision example was business park and rezoned to residential to accommodate that demand at the time.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Simmons. So just to recap, we'd say the comprehensive plan is a long-term vision of goals and growth development. It's designed to be flexible.
Correct.
And not etched in stone.
Correct.
Okay. So for the record, can you just help everybody understand in the 2015 comprehensive plan, when it was built in 2015, what was envisioned in the parcel known as the Damish property again?
The Damish property, the current land use designation is commercial. So that would go back to this slide. There was a development concept that was identified for potential development of that site, looking at big box commercial development as potential for that area. And then the sub-area plan, the Algonquin-Carrier sub-area plan, is an adopted element of the comprehensive plan. It's a more focused comp plan, if you will, for the Route 31 corridor. That, again, did identify the potential for commercial development within that corridor, but did note that in order to support commercial, there likely would need to be more residential units in the area to drive that demand for commercial development.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. And can you help us understand what occurred at Sage, now Stryker, in 2016?
Yep. Sorry. In 2016, what is now Stryker, they sought to expand their facility. And in the process, they acquired the parcel adjacent to their development. And they, part of the proposal to expand, they sought to vacate the Sage Parkway right-of-way, which had been dedicated for the development of their facility back in 1999 to accommodate their growth, development. So the right-of-way which was vacated was reviewed by the village board as a decision at the village board level for the vacation of that roadway. And then their project received, they applied for a map amendment to rezone the property they acquired, which was zone B2, adjacent to the site, where they expanded it, to rezone it from B2 to the business park zoning.
And just to clarify, Mr. Simmons, was this committee involved in the closure of Sage Parkway?
No, this committee was involved in the zoning hearing for the proposed map amendment to accommodate the development, but the roadway was a village board decision. It was not presented before the ZP at that time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simmons. And when Sage Parkway was closed, were any other alternative routes considered at that time?
There was no plans with their development. Essentially, the concepts that were reviewed were further access to the west, but it wasn't anything that was proposed as part of the Stryker development to construct additional roadways.
And in your opinion, Mr. Simmons, would you say the petitioner tonight is seeking significant relief from our comprehensive plan?
No, I believe that their plan is consistent with the comprehensive plan. With the extension of New Haven Drive, it's a recommendation within the plan as part of their development, and the proposed modification for commercial to multifamily, I believe, is consistent with some of the directives of the comprehensive plan as well.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Simmons. Let me ask you this. Are you familiar with the existing conditions report of 2014?
Yeah, it was a report that was performed to, as part of the development of the 2015 comp plan.
And so would it be fair to say, Mr. Simmons, that the 2014 existing conditions report was the framework in which the comprehensive plan was built?
Yeah, the information for that report was utilized to develop the 2015 plan.
And as a matter of fact, in the conditions report, Section 5 of the conditions report is transportation and mobility. I know you don't have it in front of you, nor do I, everyone, but I do know that from looking at it online. And in Chapter 5 of the comprehensive plan is transportation and mobility. Do you think that's accurate, Mr. Simmons?
Yep.
And would you be surprised to learn that in the existing conditions plan, it was silent on New Haven Drive? It talked about First Avenue, it talked about Rossenbridge Road, and it talked about Cary-Algonquin Road. There was nothing in there at all about New Haven Drive.
Yeah, it's from the existing conditions report. It's a document that was part of the study. There's other elements that also were part of the development of the plan, including open houses and different workshops that may have garnered additional feedback regarding that roadway extension. But if it wasn't identified in the report, that's the adopted comprehensive plan is what the village reviewed and finalized for that.
So, Mr. Simmons, I regret having to put you in the awkward spot here, but you know that the sensitive issue to the application is the roadway. So I'm opening up the comprehensive plan of 2015, and I'm specifically on page number 56. And in the New Haven Drive reference, because the comprehensive plan of 2015 does reference New Haven Drive, it says the ideal location for a new road connection would be in the vicinity of Hoffman Park. But we all agree that there's probably not an opportunity to extend West Main Street through Hoffman Park any longer. And that may be the same issue with First Avenue. Would that be a fair comment?
Yes.
Yeah. And why would that be a fair comment?
Due to the development of Hoffman Park at the time when the western connection was developed, it was farmland, and then now with it being in public use for the park, likely the development of an extension through that park land would be infeasible would require coordination with the Park District.
Thank you for that, Mr. Simmons. And one last thing, and obviously we're going to talk through this with the petitioner as well. On New Haven Drive, on page 56 of the 2015 Comprehensive Plan, it says the following: traffic management measures would need to be installed at New Haven at Savoy to deter through traffic from cutting through the neighborhood. These measures could include the installation of a barrier allowing vehicle access from the neighborhood but not back into the neighborhood. Can you help us understand when the plan was built? I know that may have predated your time, what you think that means?
Yeah, so the traffic calming measures are certainly elements that the village can utilize as part of the development of roadway. There's various elements that the village has utilized in the past for reducing speeds on roadways. Specifically, can identify Georgetown Drive and Main Street. We had not serious, but a number of complaints regarding speeding traffic in those areas. There was additional pavement markings that were added to stripe the parking lanes, kind of narrowed the travel lanes, and that had a reduction basically for individuals that are driving the roadway. You narrow the roadway, they feel less comfortable driving on the road. So it does have a reduction, an effect of reducing speeds. There are various other traffic calming elements that can be utilized in certain circumstances, depending, and traffic engineering consultants and engineers will be able to determine the best locations for those. But certainly, different types of traffic calming measures are, pavement markings, narrowing intersections for crosswalks. This improvement that was done recently downtown, so as you're driving through an intersection, the pedestrian has less roadway to cross. There's also barrier medians you can construct. There's one that the village had constructed at Wolf and Main Street. There's a flashing beacon in that installation, but that gives an area of refuge for a pedestrian, but also, again, narrows the roadway so vehicles become, drivers are less comfortable driving through that area and will generally slow down. There's other various types of traffic calming measures, that could be utilized in different installations as well for specific conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. That's very helpful. And one last question before we turn it over to the petitioner, at least from me. Have there been any recent discussions from residents about Decker Avenue?
Yes, we've had various conversations at the village board level regarding Decker Avenue.
And could you, just at a high level, explain what those discussions have been?
Yeah, there's been concerns of some traffic speeds in that area, and the village has been reviewing that at the board level with our Public Works Department, and there's some, again, similar to what the village has done on Georgetown and Main Street, they're looking at doing some additional pavement markings in that area to help reduce speeds.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simmons. So before we turn it over to the petitioner, I just want to double check again with members of the ZPA. Any questions? Mr. Williams?
Brian, can you just tell us, it's currently zoned B2, right?
Correct.
What could go there at its current standing?
Under current zoning, appropriate or similar uses would be exactly what is to the north of the site, the commercial shopping center, the Walmart Center. Retail uses would all be permitted uses on that site.
So would that require them coming to the zoning board for any sort of relief if they just want to do commercial and not?
Yeah, based on our current regulations, any property that's over 2 acres in size, as obviously this property is, it would require PUD approval, so it would have to go through the same process for that development. But the concept plan that's kind of shown on the image here, which is part of the comp plan process, that type of commercial development would be something that would be appropriate under this current zoning classification.
And then just a general question. So New Haven right now has parking on both sides?
Correct.
And based on our village, since you seem to be the expert on everything at this point, how does that size of that road compare to other roads that have parking on both sides or no parking?
My understanding from discussion with other staff is that the width of New Haven Drive is very similar to Decker. So it's a larger roadway from a standpoint of the width. From that standpoint, it's wider than a typical local roadway would be, but it's a similar width of Decker Drive.
Mr. Graciano?
Isn't part of your recommendation for the overall petition to restrict parking on New Haven extension?
For the extension of New Haven Drive through the development?
Yes.
Yes, not through the existing
No,
Cambridge Center. Yeah.
no, but
Yes,
the new section.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so before we turn it over to the petitioner, one more kick at the can up here. Just want to double check. All right, so I'm not sure who's to speak. I know the petitioners will sit at the table there. We did this on purpose so we had more room tonight for those of you that want to attend. So is it, no, you're welcome to stay there. You're more than welcome to come up here. You want to speak at the podium? You're more than welcome, and welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Chairman Corey, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. Mr. Simmons, thank you for the great overview. I think you stole some of my thunder, so.
Sorry.
But you gave a great overview. So, again, thank you. My name is Tony DeRosa with Fiduciary Real Estate Development. My address is 789 North Water Street, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53202. First of all, we're excited to be here tonight to share our plan with you for the Damish property. For our presentation this evening, we're going to give you a brief overview of our development plan. We're going to give you an overview of who we are as a company, and we've also put together a very nice 3D architectural model to give you a fly-through throughout the development. So as a company, we're based in Milwaukee. We are currently celebrating our 40th year in business this year. We're an experienced developer and investor in commercial real estate. We focus on multifamily and mixed-use projects, just like what we're sharing with you this evening. We were founded back in 1984. We've grown our business into one of Wisconsin's largest real estate companies. Today, we own and self-manage our entire portfolio in excess of 8,000 market-rate apartment homes, with an owned portfolio in excess of $2 billion in total value. Our work over the years has been recognized as award-winning. 20 times our properties have been recognized as winner of Property of the Year award. 8 times we've been recognized as New Construction Property of the Year, and 6 times our regional managers have been recognized as being the best in the business at what they do, as a true reflection of the quality of the team. My role as Vice President for Fiduciary Real Estate is I'm responsible for leading the company's growing development team, including overseeing all aspects of our firm's development activities. I'd also like to introduce 2 other team members from Fiduciary that are here with me this evening, David Farrell and Ashley Hydorn. Our architectural design partner is AG Architecture, and our civil engineering partner is Manhard Consulting, who's here this evening as well to answer any questions. We've been one of the most active multifamily developers in the Chicago suburbs over the past 5 years, with very successful projects in West Dundee, Hoffman Estates, Elgin, North Aurora, Plainfield, and Romeoville, totaling over 2,000 market-rate apartment homes and a total built value of over $500 million. Our goal here with the Damish property is to combine retail and residential spaces to create a vibrant, high-end community development. Before you look at any property for development, you need to consider what is the highest and best use for that property. So while the property is currently designated for commercial use, as noted in the comprehensive plan that was adopted back in 2015, as Mr. Simmons noted earlier, both the comp plan and the Route 31 sub-area plan encourage multifamily development at this location while preserving the commercial frontage. The likelihood of this property being developed solely with commercial and retail is not likely. There's a lack of demand for big box retail in today's economy. This will be a luxury mixed-use development designed to meet current market demands. With significant walkability throughout the development, with a connection to Hoffman Park, and the improved connectivity with the connection of New Haven Drive to Route 31 as shown in the comp plan. The retail frontage will be roughly 5 acres. The commercial development potential is truly driven by the addition of the new rooftops. There will be economic growth with the potential for new commercial retailers and users to enter the local market with pad-ready sites, allowing for increased tax revenue with additional consumer spending opportunities. Behind the retail will be our luxury multifamily market-rate housing development with a Class A amenity package. This will be condo quality And this will be built to serve the significant pent-up demand for this type of high-end housing in the community. These will be smaller scale buildings with 18 apartment homes per building, with private entries with direct access garages for some apartment homes, as well as detached garages available. When we presented to the board for concept review back in December, we had a third-party market research firm called Tracy Cross put together a high-level summary talking about the market and the product. And not only did they substantiate that there truly is demand in this market, given that there hasn't been market rate housing built of any substance in several years, but they also talked about the high design quality, the finishes, the attributes of what we build and the type of product that we build as being very well received in the local market. Similar to a previous slide, this is our 30,000 foot of our site outlined in red. This 30-acre site, as Mr. Simmons noted, is on the east side of Route 31. We have Walmart Supercenter to our north, the Cambria subdivision to the east, Hoffman Park to the south, and the west side of 31, there's a combination of some small commercial buildings, self-storage, and a landscape facility. Our commercial component will be approximately 4.7 acres in total size. That would allow up to approximately 32,000 square feet of new retail and commercial space and businesses under the current zoning of the B2. The multifamily component will be built in 2 phases. Our first phase would contain 234 apartment homes, and our second phase would include 126 for a total of 360. Our mix between 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms is shown on the screen is 44% 1 bedrooms, as well as 2 bedrooms, and rounding out 12% for our 3-bedroom mix. So as we zoom in a little bit more, I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the or before I get into the changes that we've made to the plan since the conceptual review back in December, as well as the neighborhood meeting that we had back on April 24th. I'd like to give you a general overview of the plan in a little bit more detail. The site plan contemplates 2 access points along Route 31 into the development. The northern access point will connect from 31 to New Haven Drive. The commercial component, as I mentioned earlier, could include upwards of 32,000 square feet of total new space. The red lines that you see in the shading for the commercial space are really just lines on paper today indicating what could fit here, but those are not tied to specific users at this point. The addition of the new housing component will help drive the demand for the commercial outlets as the retailers are continually looking for rooftop growth. The commercial outlets have been designed such that all stormwater for the commercial land will be managed off-site throughout our overall property as part of an overall stormwater, as part of an overall master stormwater system. This new commercial component will be an amenity to those within the community. The housing component, as I mentioned, you can see on the screen, is divided between the 2 phases. The first phase would include 13 2-story buildings, as well as all of our amenity areas, including the clubhouse. And the second phase would include the remaining 7 buildings at the bottom of the screen. The buildings have been designed in a townhouse style, which feature ground level, private direct entrances for most apartment homes, along with 8 attached garages per building. The buildings will include 1, 2, and 3-bedroom floor plans. Average rent for the project is estimated right now to be between $1,600 and $2,900. In addition, the first phase will include the clubhouse previously mentioned of a roughly 5,000 square foot in total size that's been designed to create a unique resident experience with a resort-style pool, a 24-hour fitness center with high-end cardio equipment, and an entertaining-style clubroom. We've also had discussions with the Park District regarding a connection to Hoffman Park that we're planning for the south end of the property. As I mentioned previously, we held a neighborhood open house back in April. The meeting I thought was very productive and well attended. The minutes from the meeting was included in our submittal for your reference. Open houses like that are not always productive, as some people can get emotional about change, and I totally understand that. All the discussions we had, I thought, were actually very respectful, and I think there was some good dialogue that took place. And while I recognize it's impossible to address and appease 100% of every comment that we received, I think we did make a significant effort to address the comments that we could. Now what I'd like to do is on this screen, I'd like to kind of highlight, and I've got the notes bullet pointed on the side, to talk about some of the revisions we made that were directly as a result of that meeting. First off, as I work my way down the list, we reduced the total unit count. Some of this was as a result of shifting stormwater ponds and other features throughout the site, but we reduced our total project size from 396 total apartment homes to 360. As a result of this, the one building that was eliminated, or two buildings were eliminated. One of them was at the very south end of the project. That would have been within the Cary School District limits. So with the elimination of that building, now 100% of the buildings on the plan shown would not be within the Cary School District. We also attempted to significantly lessen the impact for neighbors at the east property line by relocating a stormwater pond that we had originally shown just south of the Super Walmart. We relocated that to the east property line to significantly increase the buffer. This was one of the hot topics in addition to the road that neighbors talked to us back in April. We increased our rear setback. It was 50 feet in that previous plan. Code requires 40. The plan on the screen shows our minimum setback now from the east property line is 159 feet, and it goes up to 186 feet at the far south end of the east property line. As a result of these buildings shifting further west, a couple things also had to adjust. Our west multifamily setback had been reduced from 30 feet to 24 feet off that internal road. That's one of the variances that's on the agenda for this evening. We removed the dog park that was located along the east property line up against the Cambria subdivision. We heard that loud and clear, so we completely eliminated it from the plan. We also had a remote grill station for our residents to use that was also located near the west property line. We have shifted that to be internally located within the development, so that is now out of sight from the neighborhood. We also removed the southern shared vehicular access point. It was going to be at the very south end that we had located near Hoffman Park. We eliminated that due to constructability issues and stormwater pond conflicts with some of the other shifting that has been made to the plan. We also removed any potential connection with a road or frontage road connecting to the Walmart Supercenter parking lot. We heard that loud and clear as well from the neighbors that they did not want to make that connection. Also, our property is not subject to any cross-access easement that exists throughout the Walmart parcel. The south commercial parcel has been reduced in total size by about 1.2 acres as a result of the stormwater ponds growing and some of the other shifting that we did. And as it relates to stormwater, I'd like to have Jared Plasek. Jared is here on behalf of Manhart Engineering, and Jared's going to give you an overview of the stormwater ponds. There's 5 of them throughout the properties, and to talk about why they're located where they are, how they're sized. He'll touch on the stormwater variants that we're talking about this evening as well.
Great. Can everyone hear me okay? Oh,
Yes,
perfect.
indeed.
Excellent. As Tony mentioned, my name is Jared Plasek. I am with Manhart Consulting, the civil engineer on this project and the civil engineer that's been working with Fiduciary for some time. As Tony mentioned, there's 5 stormwater ponds on site. I can't quite play the Vanna White and point them out, but bear with me. So there's 5 stormwater ponds on site. The one in the far northwest corner of the site is set up, and all of them are set up as what would be described as infiltration basins. So they're naturalized basins. The intention of the stormwater is to infiltrate and use the existing soils that are on site that are very unique to the Cary and Crystal Lake region. They're higher infiltration rates than you get pretty much anywhere else in most of the Chicagoland area. And one of the best parts about that is that reduces impact on any of the surrounding properties as a result, which is one of the things that we're always looking to do as engineers, is try to make sure that we're minimizing any impact on neighboring property owners. This site is unique in the fact that it does have not only some of these existing infiltration soils, but it has a large existing depressional storage area on site, which also takes advantage of those existing conditions. And because of that fact, it doesn't actually, the water just kind of sits and ponds on site. And what we've looked to do as part of our stormwater design between all 5 of these basins is do the exact same thing. And not only in addition to providing what would be your typical stormwater in terms of pure volume that would be required for any type of a development such as this, we're essentially doubling the amount of a typical stormwater what would be required on site, almost 130% of what would be typical. So it's significantly more than what a normal site would have, and part of that's due to those existing conditions on site. And as a result of, requiring more volume, our request from a variance perspective is to increase the amount of time that water draws down. So we aren't looking to decrease or make the basin smaller. So we're trying to take advantage of the infiltration soils and make sure that we're not impacting the surrounding properties. And that's partially due to the fact that this site in its existing conditions infiltrates down. We're trying to do the same thing. So what we're looking to do is just extend that time slightly. And that time has increased from 72 hours to 96 hours. I think it was previously listed as 108 in the original variance request. We've actually decreased it down to 96 hours. We've been working very closely with a third-party consultant that the village uses, Seabell, to try to find that minimum amount of relief. That's one of the things in McHenry County's stormwater ordinance. As part of any variance request, you're trying to find the minimum amount of relief, which is what we've been seeking as well in working very closely with the village staff and their third-party consultant, Seabell. So that is where we've kind of settled as part of our variance request. We think that that's very similar to other surrounding counties, Lake County, DuPage County. Some of these other counties also have similar drawdown times, and some of the other municipalities do as well. We have actually in the past also requested and been granted a variance in other municipalities relative to a similar request on drawdown time when taking advantage of infiltration basins. So this isn't atypical. I understand that I'm a civil engineer in the room, and there may not be many other civil engineers in the room, so I understand that stormwater can sometimes be a question mark, but I can assure you here that we're providing double what would be typically required from a detention standpoint. And also, quite frankly, from my perspective, the amount of stormwater has to improve. I'm literally licensed and required to make it better or meet the existing conditions. So I can assure you that that's been a big focus of this development, and the reason we're asking for the variance request is because of some of the unique conditions on this particular site, which is what's driven that request.
Thank you, Jerry.
Yes.
In terms of design of the building, the residential buildings consist of 2 stories and are designed to maximize space efficiency while maintaining strong visual interest. The facade is organized to complement the gabled roofs with upper and lower stories reflecting a well-proportioned design. The exterior finish of the building includes a combination of high-quality materials of brick and hardy siding. That's a fiber cement type product. There is no vinyl on these buildings, along with board and batten to create some visual depth across the building. We have a mix of large balconies and patios that really complement the exterior elevation. Some of our in-demand features that are similar to what you'd find in a single-family home today include direct access garages, private entrances, primary suites, all with walk-in closets, and an upgraded stainless steel appliance package. We will have a very high-end interior finish package with designer cabinetry, large windows, open concept floor plans, 9-foot ceilings, designer plank flooring throughout, and quartz countertops and islands. And the images you see here are projects that we have built, and this is indicative of what would be included within the Seasons at Cary project. In terms of some of our amenities, this will be an unmatched amenity package in the market. We'll have a stunning clubhouse. You see some imagery on the screen, the bottom right. We'll have a fully equipped fitness center, the bottom left, and we have a really nice club room and caterer-style chef's type kitchen on the top right here. Some other additional images of our amenities in our clubhouse. You have a resort-style pool and deck. That's at the top left. So you work your way around to the right and down. We have an outdoor TV lounge with a grilling station. We have a rentable work-from-home space and a media lounge that our residents can use, and a pickleball court, along with a car care station for our residents. So on this slide, I really want to address your attention more towards about halfway down the screen and touch on a few things. The top is a lot of the technical stuff that I've already covered this evening. In terms of parking is going to be provided through a mix of building attached garages with, as I mentioned previously, 8 attached garages per building, along with detached garages and surface parking. Our parking ratio is 2.17 spaces per apartment home. including 184 enclosed garages, so our garage ratio is 0.51 garages per apartment home. For comparison of some of our other projects that are similar to this one in the Chicago suburbs, we're typically parked between 1.8 total spaces per apartment to 2.2. So 1.8 to 2.2. On this, we are at 2.17. That's one of the other items that we're requesting relief on. The village code requires 2.25, and it does not differentiate between the type of apartment, whether it's a studio, a one-bedroom, a two-bedroom, or a three-bedroom. It's just a flat 2.25 per apartment home. This $100 million plus development will have a major impact on the assessment and tax increment for the property. Current tax bill for this property in 2024 was $1,824. We're estimating between the multifamily development being fully built out and the commercial land being built out, that our total annual tax increment for this total development would be approximately $1.4 million per year. When we look at property value impacts, obviously the development is not going to adversely affect surrounding property values. It's not as if we're proposing heavy manufacturing uses here. Our proposed plan with both retail and multifamily is consistent with and compatible with the existing land uses in the immediate area. For example, there's retail immediately to the north of our property with a 100,000 square foot plus Walmart Supercenter, which the backside of that building backs up to the northwest part of the Cambria subdivision. There are even multifamily buildings located within and along New Haven Drive throughout the neighborhood. The neighborhood also borders a similar type of multifamily development on the north end of a multifamily development that's actually located within the limits of the city of Crystal Lake. In addition, as mentioned by Mr. Simmons earlier, there's also large industrial warehouse buildings that border the north side of the development that people see when they go in and out of the Cambria subdivision every day. The entire 36 acres of the Damish property is currently zoned for commercial, which would include large big box retail stores, very similar to a commercial retail layout that's existing to the north of us within the city of Crystal Lake. Those uses are all permitted under the current zoning. So the uses we are proposing really are no different than what is immediately adjacent to us, or some of which are already within the subdivision today. And one way you can almost look at it is this a potential downzoning from being 100% B2 to going from 36 acres of potential commercial down to 5 acres of commercial, along with 2-story residential behind it. In terms of some of the economic benefits, we're estimating almost a $40 million impact over the next 40 years with new residents living here and additional consumer spending dollars throughout the local submarket. We're going to create a lot of jobs with this project. In terms of construction jobs, we think overall we'll create in excess of 300 plus construction jobs. And fully built out with the retail and the multifamily, we could estimate over 100 jobs created overall that are permanent jobs. Total estimated impact fee revenue as a result of both or all three phases of this project would be in excess of $2.7 million to the village. So a few things to sum up. There is market demand for new commercial development here, along with this unique type of housing that doesn't exist in the market. A lot of the multifamily housing options within the village of Cary are older, they're dated, and they really don't meet the needs of what people are looking for today. Our target residential demographic is looking for a modern community to call home, and will include empty nesters, baby boomers, retirees, young professionals, and many of those that are choosing to rent. The typical resident profile, or the typical resident employment profile, includes those within the following industries typically: those working in healthcare, finance, retail, insurance, real estate, technology, police, fire, management, government, education, and the service industries, along with retirees. It is the retail access and recreational amenities that make this location along Route 31 a very attractive option for a luxury mixed-use development. I'd like to walk you through some of our imagery that was included in your packet. We'll flip through this. This is a view looking from our southern access point, which is a right in, right out, looking at the commercial conceptual buildings out in front of the multifamily buildings sitting behind it. Same view, but at street level. This is a rendering of what our clubhouse is going to look like, more of a modern farmhouse type look. backside of our clubhouse, pool area, outdoor entertaining space. Imagery of the building, two-story combination, as I mentioned earlier, of hardy siding or a cement board type product along with some masonry, a lot of gable details, larger windows. Backside of the buildings, you can see the attached garages. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we put together a fly-through model that we'll share with you. It's about a minute and a half long.
Bear with me a second. Yeah, exactly. Technical issues. And I apologize if this is loud. Thank you. That concludes my presentation. We appreciate your time, giving us the opportunity to present this evening, and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. DeRosa. So I would have a number of questions, but I'm going to defer to the ZBA members first, see what questions they may have.
Question. First off, thank you for that presentation. Said self-managed, so there's a newer subdivision or a newer apartment building, Springs at Three Oaks and Crystal Lake. Feels like it's direct competition. Would you say yes, no, on that competition? I mean, what differentiates you from that?
Sure. Yeah, very, very good question. So self-managing was your first comment.
Yeah,
not a question,
that's
but-
going to be
but
an A-B thing. So
I
we're
can
gonna
answer
get
that too.
Okay.
So from a management standpoint, we are the owner. We buy the property, we develop it, we borrow the money from the bank, we invest in it. We also have our own internal property management division. So we will manage this property. We manage all of the apartments that we own and develop. We manage them ourselves. We don't hire a third party to take over and we're kind of hands off. It's fiduciary real estate development is the management agent for the property. In terms of the Springs at Three Oaks, there's a couple of things. Good question, good observation. So that project was built by a company called Continental Properties based in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. Actually, a competitor of ours in some regards that we both build multifamily. When you tour their property versus ours, we kind of build for two different segments of the market. We have a higher end finished package, a higher end exterior look to the building. So when you go through their building versus the imagery that I share with you on the screen of what the interiors are going to look like, we have a noticeably upgraded finished package. So we attract we have a higher rent typically. We attract a slightly higher end demographic and just an overall higher aesthetic to the project.
And then, so I was going through the list, buffer and trees, vegetation on the east side. There's currently existing. Are you adding to that, or is that going to be part of it?
Yeah, so we would add landscaping along the east property line. we meet and/or exceed the code requirement that was noted in the staff report. And it's a combination of evergreens and deciduous trees.
And then last question, and I don't know this, and maybe we know it. I noticed that the Springs is digging out their retention again, one of their ponds down there. Why would that be happening? Why would someone have to re-dig? Was it an error made in and it could be for a question
maybe.
from a man over there, but I don't know. Sorry, I
do you-
forgot your name. John, maybe?
Do you have any
I
insight?
can't fully speak to that, not being personally involved with the Springs development. With that being said, typically there's maintenance procedures that have to be done with ponds. Perhaps it could have been as a result of initial poor construction, could have been a result of poor maintenance, could just be a typical maintenance procedure. It's hard for me to say
Yeah, no,
without
you're-
seeing the scope and extent of said improvements.
Yeah, just
but-
your knowledge in that is better than mine, so I was just trying to get an understanding. of
Yeah,
why.
I'd say that typically basins undergo routine maintenance and sometimes more than routine maintenance, just depending on what maybe has occurred, so. It's a good
We've never
question.
had to dig out a basin and redo it. Sometimes though, in terms of the maintenance, what that would include is if there's like a silt buildup in the soils here, as Jared noted, they're infiltratable soils, so you need to make sure they drain properly. So sometimes if you go, if there's some washout, you clean those up. Those are the type of maintenance things that we would typically do.
Okay.
I assume we would have a stormwater maintenance agreement with the village that would dictate those requirements as well.
Okay, thanks.
I've got a quick question for you. Yeah, presentation was great. I like the fly through too. You can see how everything is gonna fit together in that. One item that that caught my eye though is the new drive, and I'm sure that's the big question with some people. So I could see going out to 31, connecting out like that, but then connecting to New Haven. There are some recommendations here about traffic calming or even eliminating traffic going from the development into New Haven. Do you have that in? I didn't see that in the layout in the drawing at all.
In terms of any
Any-
traffic calming measures? No, none are shown right now, with the understanding that as we work with the board, the village board, Mr. Simmons and the staff in the engineering and public works department, that those would be worked through as conditions of what should those traffic calming items
Yeah.
be. It's not really, we don't look to ourselves as saying, here's what we think. It's more of village, what do you want, public works, what do you want to see in terms of traffic calming? We're more than open to looking at and making sure that, satisfies their requirements.
Because my concern is people are going to use that as a shortcut, coming 31, shooting on through. Or, and then you got the road right now with, if you got cars parked on both sides, it's, kids playing, and you got cars, shooting down, it'd be a little dangerous that way. I did see something similar to like this in Lake Zurich by the Walmart there. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but they turned it where you cannot go from the development into the neighborhood. You can go from neighborhood out. So I don't know if you consider something like that.
Yeah, no, that was one of the, I think, comments noted in the staff
Yeah, I got that number.
packet. Yeah, I haven't seen the one in Lake Zurich, but yeah, I mean, I'm aware, could that be a potential solution? Sure.
Okay. Yeah, that's just my only
Yeah.
question, is just with the traffic, and you get the development in the neighborhood right there, just for safety especially, so.
Thank you for the comments.
Any other comments from the ZBA members?
Only one comment, one question, great presentation. You said that if children are in that community, they are not in the Cary School District?
That is correct. So none of our buildings are located within the Cary School District.
What school district?
They'd be
would
going to Crystal Lake and maybe the district.
Yeah, it would be Crystal Lake Elementary School, District 47, and then the District 155 High School District, but it would go to Prairie Ridge High School.
And in a follow-up to that, a little additional context, our properties usually don't attract a lot of school-age kids. When you look at our portfolio, we typically average about 8 to 10 school-age kids per every 100 apartments. So on a project like this, you're looking at 30 to 40, maybe, and some of those children may already be within the school district. So,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Anyone else?
Everybody's been hitting up all my questions. I will note that in looking at everything, and presentation was very nice. The 3D flyby was cool once you learned how to fly. But I didn't notice, is there any plans for electric plug-ins?
Yeah, we typically provide a handful within the development. There's also the new state it's a statute, if I remember, if referring to that correctly, that came down that's requiring a mandate on EV charging stations. Some of that text of what was adopted and approved is generally vague, but there's the language hints at providing infrastructure and more EV charging. Exact number, a little more vague, but yes, that's gonna be a bigger project of all projects within the state of Illinois going forward. That passed earlier this year.
Okay. And then can I
Please.
ask a further question, a farther out
Absolutely,
question?
Absolutely.
Chief, any concerns, response time? Fire chief.
Mike, forgive me, you're going to have to come to the podium so we can hear, and you'll have to introduce yourself, and thank you very much.
And for the record, it's not the fire chief. He's-
I believe you referenced the meeting, we had a pre-meeting in December, is that what you said? Okay. The chief and I met, they were very good at addressing any concerns that we had. They asked us straightforward questions regarding the width of the streets, our response times, what would be required for hydrants, water main size, and all that stuff. They covered everything we wanted to. We sent them dimensions and what's called an auto turn exhibit that Jared was very good at working on, which shows our tower ladder will get through the whole complex and do what it needs to do. The chief and I did our own response study already. I don't want to add to the whole debate here. We will actually make up a minute to a minute and 20 if we have to go down New Haven to get there versus us going down to 31 and cutting down there in anticipation of what might come up.
Perfect, thank you, sir.
Okay?
Appreciate it.
So, Mike, the question that's being asked from the audience is, can you repeat the emergency response time using various streets?
So we do a regular, we do this all the time, but on this one, anticipation, we saved a minute and 10 seconds to a minute and 20 seconds. Going from our Station 1 on Ontario-Algonquin Road, if we were gonna go out and take down, at 3 Oaks to 31 and cut over into the ride coming off of 31, New Haven saved us a minute and 10 to a minute and 20 seconds. We do that regular drive time. We don't do it artificial. We do it where we're timing it. We stop it every time we stop the vehicle. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
you're welcome.
So, Mr. DeRosa, I do have a few questions for yourself. I think I can take you back to December the 17th, 2024. You're in this room making the conceptual review.
That is correct.
And during the conceptual review, how was that received?
It was received extremely favorably. The village board loved the plan. They said, we've not seen something like this in many years, and it would be a great addition to the community.
And during that discussion, was there any comments whatsoever made to you overall the project, the building materials or anything like that?
No.
Okay, was there any of this?
Other than they appreciated the materials we were using, that we were not using vinyl, a combination of brick and cement board siding.
Yeah, I recall. So did any of the discussion take place around some of the relief you might potentially need at a very high level during that discussion on December the 17th?
If I remember correctly, maybe on the density, we had touched on, I think the code was 9 and we're closer to just shy of 13. Actually, we had a higher density when we presented. We had 36 additional units in December than we do today.
So you're aware in your application that you're requesting in your application the through street? You're aware of that?
Yes, I am.
And you understand that it is the responsibility of your company, Fiduciary, to meet the standards of that request. In other words, the burden, preponderance of evidence, is on Fiduciary that includes that street for the standards. You're aware of that, right?
Yes, I am aware of that.
Okay, so maybe I can ask the question a different way. In the standards, one of the standards, I don't know if you're going to be presenting expert testimony later, but I'm going to read. I know you don't have this big deck in front of you, but I'm reading from your material. And it's item number 8. And it's around the idea of standards for map amendments. And one of the standards is property values of the surrounding and adjacent property will not be diminished. And the response is, property values of the surrounding and adjacent property will not be diminished. So will you be providing expert testimony that speaks to that, or is there any data in this presentation? I didn't see any data that supports that conclusion.
We've not presented data. A couple things anecdotally we can provide, or that I previously shared with you in terms of when you look at property values and you look at a new development such as this, and you look at what are existing surrounding uses within the surrounding areas. And the types of uses that we're proposing within our overall development are uses that are consistent with and/or exist today. For example, to the north of us is already retail and commercial, actually a larger scale, big box, which we will be having smaller scale retail than exists today. As you go through the Cambria subdivision to the east, all along the west and north sides of New Haven Drive, there are multifamily buildings that line that entire stretch of road. Buildings, multifamily, I believe they're a for-sale condo product, slightly smaller than us, but still a multifamily building, and actually a same zoning, the R3 zoning, which is also the same zoning we're requesting, is what is adjacent to New Haven Drive. As you go out towards Georgetown, you go further east, you look to your north, there's our other commercial uses. I mentioned earlier, there's industrial there. We think industrial would actually have a negative adverse effect on property values. We are not proposing any heavy industrial, or anything of the type within our development plan. So thereby, we conclude that the uses are comparable to, exist, they match, and should not have an adverse effect on surrounding property values. If not, you could probably argue, again, this is anecdotally, that this may actually improve surrounding properties by having access to additional amenities, retail, and other services for the residents of the community.
But that's your opinion, correct? In other words, it's not an independent review of whether or not there would be the same level of property value, an increase in property value, or a decrease. In other words, that's your professional view.
That is correct.
That's working for
That is my
fiduciary.
professional opinion.
Yeah, okay. So maybe I can just step back for a second, Mr. DeRosa. You're obviously aware of the open house on April 24th, 2025.
Yes, I am.
And you talked about the number of attendees. How many attendees attended the open house? I can help you. It was
Okay.
25.
I included it within the pack. I think it was 45?
25.
25.
So the question would be first is that you've done other projects here in the state of Illinois, about a half dozen, would that be
Yes,
fair?
that's correct.
And do you do open houses in other communities?
Sometimes we do. When they are requested or required, we provide them.
And in those experiences, does 25 sound like a big number, a small number, or a standard number?
I'd call it standard.
Okay. So when you notified the community, what was the process and procedure for notifying the community of your open house?
Sure, so we followed the village guidelines that Mr. Simmons provided to us. I can't recite them verbatim, but,
I can help.
okay.
It's
Yeah.
the 250 feet is the notice requirement for the property, and then it's at least 15 days in advance of the open house.
Exactly. So if you could kind of continue down the theme of the responses that you received from the people that attended the open house, what type of feedback did you receive?
Sure, so that open house took place in this room.
Yes.
On that date of April 24th. The room was set up where we had easels along the back wall, showing site plan, showing images very similar and comparable to what I presented to you this evening. We had it set up where there was representatives from our company. There were 3 of us here in attendance, myself, Dave Farrell, and Ashley Hydorn from Fiduciary Real Estate. And we spoke with everybody that came through that door. We did not conduct or stand at the front of the room and present. We had one-on-one, one-on-two, one-on-three type conversations.
Speak into the microphone, please.
We held conversations with people as they walked through. We stayed here till everybody left and answered every question that they asked. Sometimes there are questions asked that we did not have answers to. There are things that people said that if you could change this, we'd be happy with your plan. Or some people said, we don't like the plan, we don't like the road. We received a variety of comments.
Yeah, and to that point, Mr. DeRosa, that obviously, to the commissioner's comments, is a sensitive issue in the application. Will you be presenting any expert testimony this evening on the traffic evaluation?
Yes, I can present this evening. We have our traffic consultant, Lue Abuno from KLOA, who provided the traffic study and some follow-up memos to the village. He'd be happy, if you would like, Commissioner, for him to come up and talk about the New Haven Drive extension and overall traffic.
Yeah, I would say that before we get to that, I want to continue my line of questioning, but I think that's going to be helpful.
Okay?
But as it relates to the attendees that attended the open house, did you say to any of the attendees that you're not requesting the through street?
We said that the through street was a request of the village based on the comprehensive plan. That the village staff would like to see the road connected because it's consistent with the comprehensive plan.
What does fiduciary want?
We would like the connection. We think
Okay.
it improves the overall value of the development. We also think that as part of the retail component to the project, having that connection allows us to, we're working with IDOT on getting approval for a signalized intersection.
But
And we
that's
under-
not approved today.
That is not, no, we have plans submitted to them for review. We understand that if there is no connection to the subdivision, that would most likely not allow us to create a signalized intersection, but rather we would have a full access intersection or a 3/4 intersection without a traffic signal. Without a traffic signal, the impact on the commercial land is not as desirable for retailers and commercial users. So it has an impact on the marketability of the commercial land.
All right, so just to confirm, fiduciary did not say during the open house that they didn't need the road. You didn't say that. No member of the
I don't
staff
recall
said
saying
that.
we don't need it, no.
Okay, thank you for that. So let me just move on. I know you're going to present on the traffic study, and I do have a few more questions. On the standards for plan developments, item 3 again. This is in your submission. It talks about impact on other property, and there's a large section here, to be fair to you. It says, shall not be inconsistent with the community character of the neighborhood and shall not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. Do you know how long New Haven has been a cul-de-sac?
Based on the presentation that I saw from Mr. Simmons tonight, it appears that it's been a cul-de-sac for
25 years.
20-plus years,
Yeah.
25 years.
So I think that's a real pressure point, and we'll get into that discussion, because we don't have any information to really, in my opinion, to make a decision tonight about property values of the surrounding and adjacent property will not be diminished. I think we need an independent review of that reality for these commissioners to come to some kind of conclusion whether or not you're meeting the standard. And while we respect your opinion, I think it would be appropriate to have an independent review of whether or not that is appropriate. And I'm not here to say I have the answer. I'm saying I think we need an independent review. So that's one issue. And I think the second issue, impact on other property, is part and parcel. Even though it's the roadway, it's a similar proposition. So let me come back now just to a few other questions, and thank you for your honesty here. You've done other projects. You've done traffic studies. Who pays for the traffic study?
We do.
You do.
Fiduciary Real Estate does.
Exactly. So in the other projects that you've done, have there ever been a situation where the traffic study did not support the conclusion that you were seeking?
Sometimes traffic studies will come back with recommended improvements.
Sure, and I know that Mr. Simmons is informing, just to be transparent with
Right.
everybody, that our local engineer did review the
Yeah,
traffic
so,
study.
so sometimes when we are trying to work on an access point for a new development, and we don't think any additional off-site improvements are warranted, we've had traffic studies come back by KLOA that say, no, you need to add a 100-foot turn lane or deceleration lane, acceleration lane, or median modifications. That happens actually fairly regularly.
Okay, so let me just come back to your original presentation, just some of the, kind of the data. I think it was on page number 10, where you talk, on the presentation that we received, not in this presentation that was up on the screen. You talk about 39.6 on the projected 10-year estimate. And you're saying that would create jobs, and I agree with that. Do you folks go back and do postmortems on any of your projects in a 10-year span and say, we hit the number, we were above it, we're below it? Do you ever do a postmortem to determine whether or not what you're saying here tonight was accurate? Take
Yes.
some of the projects.
Yeah, so a couple of those things I can touch on. So the $39.6 million, that's anecdotal. I can't prove how much spending happens in the local submarket. What that assumption is based on, though, is we look at what is the median income. You can look this up on the internet. What is the median income for the village of Cary, Illinois? It's about $110,000 annually. You look at 360 apartments. You look at a small percentage of those being new dollars. I think we're typically estimating around 10% of that. You multiply that out, even without an inflation factor, you get to the 39.6. You can never prove that out, but we think it's a conservative assumption of new people living here. Some may already live within the Cary limits, some may be new to the community, but they're spending dollars in the surrounding submarket. So that's that one. In terms of job creation, the majority of the job creation is gonna be from the commercial. The residential may create, 5 or 6 full-time equivalents. The big job generators are gonna be from the commercial. For example, we are working with a large national restaurant group on another project in Wisconsin that could be a fit for something like this. They buy 2 acres in size, they build a significant sized restaurant, and they're hiring 100 people to work at that restaurant.
So just so we're clear, Mr. DeRosa, I appreciate the honesty on that. Right now, tonight, is there anyone, I know you're saying there's a possibility, but right now, tonight, as we speak here, the light on the extension of New Haven with the Illinois Department of Transportation is not agreed to as of tonight, correct?
That is correct.
And as of tonight, there's no one on the commercial side that is committed to fiduciary that says we want to come in and build X.
That is correct.
Okay, so that's part of that estimate of the 39.6, correct?
No, the $39.6 million impact would just be from consumer spending related to the apartments.
Okay.
Any additional spending related to the commercial, we actually did not factor that in. That would be in addition to.
I appreciate the clarification. So you mentioned in your presentation, in your testimony, the other projects that are occurring very near where your Seasons project is going to go, specifically the Springs, and specifically the Redwood, I think it's called. Are you familiar with the area over there? Like, have you actually gone over there and
Yes, I
viewed?
have.
So are you familiar with Three Oaks Road?
Yes,
And are you familiar with East Monticello?
by name and roughly where it's located.
And then the one that's just a little bit west of it is called Post Road, Old Post Road.
Okay, not as familiar with Post Road by
Yeah.
name, but
So what I did is that I went over there, and what I noticed is that both of those streets, East Monticello and Old Post Road, connect into Central Park Drive, but you can't go through them because they don't connect, just like New Haven today doesn't connect out to Route 31. So I got curious about that, and I asked the mayor what the story was about that. Why didn't you let the connection go through? And then I talked to Mr. Simmons' counterpart in Crystal Lake, and they said because of residents' concern, they didn't want the through traffic. And that's a really serious issue, because I think at the end of the day, what you're going to be hearing in here is that the people that are here tonight and people that have been going to the public meetings have some very serious reservations about property values, about safety. I don't know how familiar you are with the cul-de-sac. Are you familiar with?
yes, I have.
Have you been there? So
Yes,
do you?
I have.
Okay, so can you tell me within a quarter of a mile what's there at the cul-de-sac?
In terms of, like to the north of the cul-de-sac,
No, in other words, if you and I were at the cul-de-sac and drove out of New Haven Drive, what would we drive by
the home, like if you're leaving the cul-de-sac heading east?
on New Haven?
Oh, sure, yeah, so on your right, you'd have single-family homes, you've got a couple streets to your right. On your left, you have the multifamily buildings. Road curves around, it narrows in a couple spots, and you work your way out to Georgetown.
You're 100% correct on that, but what you didn't notice is that within a quarter of a mile, there are 2 parks. One is called New Haven Park. The second one is Hoffman Park. And there's a lot of foot traffic there every day, not the least of which is children going to the fishing pond and people biking and people walking. So again, to your submittal here, one of the things that we have to consider, even though this committee, just so we're all transparent, it is not our role and responsibility on a roadway. You're asking for it, and we're required, per council, to come to a findings of fact against the standards, because you're requesting the roadway. And that's a challenge for us here, because that's something that we're going to be hearing about from the public. And so I've been hearing quite honestly that people have told us that, and you're going to hear it tonight, that you said you didn't need the roadway. And whether or not the village asked for it, that's a different discussion. That's out of this committee's control. And so I know part of the puzzle is going to be talking about the traffic study. And to be quite honest with you, just like the existing conditions report was silent on New Haven Drive that builds the comprehensive plan, part of your traffic report is silent of anything east of Cary-Algonquin Road. And you're probably aware from the comprehensive plan that there's another large project that's going to go over to that side of town. And that's going to create additional traffic, let alone the own traffic that's coming from your development. There's just going to be a lot of traffic. And you heard us say that we don't have the ability to get through West Main Street today. That's the park. So in my opinion, what's going to happen is that New Haven Drive is going to become the new version of West Main Street. And it's going to create a lot of volume of traffic and probably have unintended consequences, and it's because you're asking for it.
I think from the traffic study standpoint, I think certainly that a traffic engineer can provide background for the methodology that was utilized for the study area. We did have conversations with the development team and the traffic engineer for the area that was analyzed. The consultant can kind of give more information as far as why the study was limited to this area and not expanded further beyond Cary Algonquin Road. But certainly, as if the roadway connection goes into something that the village originally had asked for the development, with other developers that had also had interest in the site, it was something that we had indicated that was in the comprehensive plan and a desire to see that roadway connection. So the development does incorporate that and is certainly the final design of that roadway, if it is designed and constructed, as far as what type of connection that would be and what type of traffic calming measures there would be. But I would certainly delay to the traffic engineer to provide more information on the methodology that was utilized for the study.
I think that's going to be a real issue, and I think this is, again, because the traffic study is being paid by yourself. There's no information about property values. You know, we need objective information, so findings of fact, to see whether or not you're achieving the standards. And I think that's the challenge that we have in front of us here. It's difficult to come to a finding of fact with insufficient information. And knowing full well that right now tonight, the traffic study is silent on anything east of Cary Algonquin Road is problematic, all by itself. And quite matter-of-factly, I've told this to Mr. Simmons, I'm personally aware that in the narrative of the traffic study, at the intersection of Lutter and Central Park Drive, there is in fact a traffic signal there. Now, in fairness, the graph behind it does show a traffic signal. What it doesn't show is that right now as we speak, right up there on Three Oaks Road in Lutter, there's going to be another traffic signal. So in my mind's eye, I can see substitution on Route 31 coming through New Haven. There'll be substitution coming through from Rackhow Road. So folks, please forgive me. So thank you, but I have to tell you that we live in a great community with great people. You're those great people. And remember the courtroom analogy. We have to try to have a sense of decorum as fairness to the petitioner. So thank you, but I think we got to kind of keep the clapping and any other comments to ourselves until we're speaking up here in public. So thanks for your understanding. But I think the core issue here, Mr. DeRosa, is that if you really think this through, you work and breathe in this space. Rackhow Road, today you go left north onto Route 31, right down Three Oaks. If you lived back in this area on Krenz Drive, more than likely what you're going to do is you're going to go right, south on Route 31, left at the road, and come through New Haven. It's unequivocal. And that's just one area, right? There's the traffic coming from the other side of town. It's not really considered, and so there's a huge amount of substitution that is unequivocally going to occur in this. And we need a broader traffic study in order to understand whether or not you're achieving the standards. And one could argue whether or not the traffic study is objective because you're paying for it. I think we have to honestly consider the reality of that. Now, I know that's very standard in your business.
That's
but this
correct.
is also a very high-profile project. And you have a community that's been there for 25 years in a cul-de-sac neighborhood, and we're about to open it up to the new version of West Main Street. So it's a very, very sensitive issue. And at the end of the day, the standards fall to you. You have to prove it. That's the standard.
Commissioner, I appreciate your comments. A couple of things, and I'll have our traffic consultant come up, and it'd be beneficial for him to walk through his process. He can talk about how the scope of the report was approved on or agreed upon of what he was going to study. There was some back and forth with additional comments, things that needed to be addressed, some additional data collection points that were requested of us to do so. So I'll have him come up in a second. A couple other things. I understand your comments. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate everyone standing and sitting behind me in their concerns. What I said to people when we had our neighborhood meetings, I think we're good at listening. We're not going to come here and just pound our chest and pound the table here and say, no, take it or leave it. That's not how we work. You can see some of that through the changes we've made since the plan that we shared at the neighborhood meeting in April, as well as the concept plan that we presented to the board back in December. We had buildings that were 100 feet closer. We shifted ponds. We made a lot of changes to address items non-related to the road. There's some people that we will never satisfy that don't want to see any change. I can't do anything about that. There's people that told us that if you can, people that live to the east, on that east property line, that told us that if you move the pond and give me a bigger buffer in my backyard, I'm good with the road. I'm good with the overall development. So we got a variety of comments like that, and I think we made a fair amount of changes to address those immediate things. In terms of some of the comments or notes that were in the staff report from Mr. Simmons about things that could be modified, traffic calming measures, the idea of a one-way traffic condition at the cul-de-sac, those are all things that we're open to discussing. I'm not standing up here and saying, no, we're not going to make any traffic calming improvements, or a one-way is a total deal killer for us. There's ways you can analyze this. We're trying to balance between how do you make sure that the commercial component, because I think that's also important to the village as well, versus wiping that out completely, and how do you make that marketable as well? Because I think, sales tax, maintaining some retail component of the project makes some sense. Obviously, the access to that, is and how that traffic flows. But if a one-way in and out versus, two-way traffic through there is something that the village would like to see, I think that's certainly something we can look at. We're not standing up here saying no to that request, just to be clear.
All right, well, thank you for that, and I appreciate the honesty.
And if I can, really quick, from a standpoint of the traffic study and who's paid for it, it was a requirement of the submittal that they produce a traffic study. And as Mr. DeRosa mentioned, the village did coordinate with the developer and their consultant on the scope of that traffic study before it was performed and submitted. So we did have input on that. And then when it was submitted to the IDOT for review. That's still pending comments back, as I understand it. But the village did also hire a second engineer to review that traffic study and provided additional feedback and review of that, which is a traffic consultant with expertise in reviewing those comments were provided to the development team. They're since revising the report to update based on that feedback that was granted.
No, I appreciate the transparency, Mr. Simmons, and for the record, everyone, I'm well aware, I talked to Mr. Simmons on this project virtually every day since the submission. And if I recall correctly, on the local engineer, there were no fewer than 21 comments on the traffic report. Is that a fair comment?
It's several comments around the report, yes.
Yeah, okay. So I think at a high level, Mr. DeRosa, this is not between me and you. At a high level, this is, our job to come to findings of fact. And the facts are that you're going to have a big project, 360 units. The fact is there's going to be another project coming right behind your petition in the not-too-distant future. I don't know at the end of that day what number of units are going to be there, but I do know this tonight, and it could change next week. But the road proposed in that project is going to go roughly from the train station and come around the train tracks and exit up at where the fire station is. There's proposed to have a traffic light there.
Okay.
But if you are now a resident back there and you want to go to Walmart, guess which way you're going to go? You're going to take that new roadway, you're going to cross over Cary-Algonquin Road, you're going to come right up this street here called Industrial, you're going to cross over Georgetown, and you're going to go down New Haven. That's what's going to happen. So I think that's the sensitive issue that, we're talking about Route 31, and that's certainly an issue. But there's the rest of the story, and that's part of the rest of the story here.
Understood. Thank you for providing that additional information.
All right. So I think I personally beat that one up pretty well, but you're welcome to go.
Yeah,
Mr.
just a few more. One, for clarification, the traffic study was done February 11th and February 8th in the report. Is that accurate? I don't look at a lot of them, but feel like winter's different than summer, especially given people walking around with, so that's first thing I wanted to point out. Two, confirm, elevation of the plan is the same level as the existing subdivision? I think I read that in the report.
So actually, in terms from a grade
Yeah.
standpoint, actually, I'm going to have Jared answer that.
Sure, I'd love to answer that. The short answer is yes, it is comparable to, and when we say comparable to, it's within like a foot or two kind of thing in terms of the elevations of the apartment buildings or the multifamily buildings that are located along the eastern edge of this development are at roughly 883, 884, and most of the houses, I'll be truthful and honest, I've not looked at every house elevation. However, along the property edge, which is typically the low side of the property, those elevations range anywhere from about 881, 882, all the way up to 886. So I can use my my knowledge of civil engineering to know that those houses are likely actually going to be even slightly higher. So those houses are likely to be higher up than the multifamily development. And the combination of the now 150-yard or 150 foot buffer along with landscaping and the fact that those houses are actually higher up is probably, I think most adjacent homeowners would consider that to be much more beneficial than the other way around.
There was some concern at the neighborhood meeting. A couple people thought that our building elevation was going to be in line with what the Walmart shopping center was, which sits significantly higher, and that is not accurate.
Okay.
To Commissioner Williams, to address your other comment about the traffic study and timing and methodology, Chairman Corey, at the appropriate time, I'd like to have our traffic consultant come up and talk on some of those things, and he could answer that
Great.
question as well.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think just to close on Mr. Williams' remarks, because my understanding of the traffic study, just so everyone's clear on the rules of the road, no pun intended, it was a 6-hour study?
I would have
Yeah, all right.
our
Yeah, we'll
consultant
get to
come
that.
up.
So, go ahead.
I still got a
Mr.
few
Williams.
more
Oh, sure.
aside from that,
Yeah.
real quick. Security in the system, since it's self-managed in the buildings, what is the security protocol? Do you have a person there 24 hours walking around, golf cart? What happens in your facilities where you have for security?
Oh, sure. They're not staffed 24 hours, which is not typical. We have cameras around our common areas, around our clubhouse, public spaces like that. We're generally well lit. We meet the lighting requirements of the community. I think there's also a comment from the police department about entering into the village agreement with them to provide any policing over private property. But we have people available, and all of our residents have 24-hour emergency contact numbers and whatnot should anything come up outside of regular business hours.
Okay, great. And then just for clarification, you are correct in that the homes on New Haven that are R3, that are townhomes, those are owned versus rented.
That was my
So just
understanding. Yep.
want to make sure. Okay, I'm good. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. And I would like you to just hear this. I'm going to ask Mr. Simmons the question. Mr. Simmons, did the Village of Cary do any traffic studies that you're aware of on New Haven Drive?
Periodically, we do traffic studies in the area, so just as part of normal response to development in the area, concerns in the area, we do put down road troops to determine volumes and speeds in the area for enforcement activities.
And would it be fair, Mr. Simmons, to say that the area west of Mulberry, that the traffic that we recorded recently, and I think it was back in April of this year, was less in 2025 than it was in 2017? Would that be a fair statement?
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I believe there was a slight decrease.
Yes, I think there was too. All right, so I think there might be some value, Mr. DeRosa, to hear from your traffic expert, and thank you for your presentation. I think, quite frankly, I'll speak for myself on this, I think your project is good. I think the challenge that you have in front of you is the roadway. It's unequivocal. And I think that's part of the challenge that we have sitting before us, is that the standards are the standards. You're asking for the roadway, even though we're pointing back to the comp plan, and the standards have to be achieved by you. And so the idea that real estate is not going to be impacted without any data is problematic. The idea that we have one traffic study that's paid for you, in my opinion, problematic. And I think we need more information to make an informed decision, to be fair to you, the petitioner, to make sure that we have all the information, all the fact-finding, that we can come to a logical conclusion on the facts and apply them to the standards, and that we're meeting the standards of our local ordinances. So that's kind of my take on where we are tonight.
I appreciate your comments, Chairman.
Yeah.
So with that, I'd like to have traffic consultant come up.
Good evening. My name is Louay Abuna, A-B-O-O-N-A. I'm a traffic engineer and principal with KLOA. Thanks for the opportunity to speak in front of you tonight. The traffic study that we performed, it follows the standard requirements for the preparation of such studies. We typically follow the IDOT requirements in terms of methodology, the traffic count, time periods, the design year that we look at, so typical, requirements that we follow throughout the District 1 here in Illinois. As Mr. Simmons indicated, at the onset of this preparation of the traffic study, we had this a meeting with the staff to go over the parameters and the scope, even the intersections to be included in the traffic study. So we felt very comfortable that the study is encompassing a wide enough area to look at the impact of this development would have on the area intersections and with the extension of New Haven Drive. We looked at the typical weekday morning and weekday evening rush hours. That's what we tried to look at because that's when the traffic is the highest on the roadway system. And we also incorporated Saturday in the analysis because of the commercial nature of 31 with Walmart and the commercial being proposed as part of the development. As far as your question in terms of doing the counts in February, obviously that's when the study was initiated, so we had to do the counts at that time. But more importantly, doing the study at that time captures the school traffic. If we do the counts in the summer, a lot of people are on vacations, the schools are not in session, the traffic patterns may not be very representative. So doing it in the winter when the schools are in session are more typical of what the normal traffic conditions would be. Doing 6 hours of counts, Mr. Chairman, is again typical of what these traffic studies require, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening, and midday on Saturday. We really don't have to go back multiple days to do the counts because, we pick the Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. We don't pick a Friday or a Monday because those are not typical commuter days. So those days are representative of the traffic conditions as long as there's no other factors that may influence the traffic patterns, then the counts would be representative. We do check them against IDOT's data that they have published to make sure that is consistent. But again, it's common practice in these traffic studies and consistent with IDOT requirements that we do a one-day check of traffic counts on a weekday and on a Saturday. So as part of this study, we looked at the 31 corridor. We looked at counts in the Cambria subdivision along Georgetown at New Haven and at Three Oaks and multiple intersections along that corridor. Again, just to understand what the traffic patterns are on 31, how some of the signalized intersections are operating at Raycow, at Walmart entrance, and so forth, and then also what the traffic patterns are in the neighborhood. And then we looked at the trip generation that this development would result, with the residential and the commercial. We use, again, standards in the industry in terms of trip generation rates for these type of uses. It's widely accepted, is very representative of what a multi-unit development would generate and what the highway commercial type of uses that are anticipated would generate. And then we obviously looked at the connection and the extension of New Haven and what kind of changes in the redistribution of traffic within that neighborhood would result from this alternative access that the residents in that neighborhood now will have with this new connection to 31. Particularly for the residents that travel to and from the south on 31, they will find this connection to be a lot more convenient than what they have to do today, going up Three Oaks, coming around, making a left, and coming down on 31. And you're correct, Mr. Chairman, also on Raycow. We have taken into that account that some of the residents would find it more convenient to make a right to go down 31 and then continue on New Haven. There's no doubt there's going to be changes in the travel patterns. You take a cul-de-sac street and you connect it to 31, there will be changes in the traffic patterns, but most of that will be a redistribution of the neighborhood traffic. Will there be some additional traffic? That's possible, but I don't believe that's going to be as convenient as people staying on Three Oaks continuing to 31. Remember, this is still a meandering road. This is still a residential collector. It's over 1 mile from Georgetown till you get to the property line. So it's a long drive at a lower speed, and, you know, with the traffic calming measures that will be added, it's not gonna be convenient. The convenient route would be for people to stay on the main highway, on the main lines, 3 Oaks, 31, Cary-Algonquin Road. That's the purpose of these roads. The extension of New Haven is really to serve the immediate neighborhood of Cambria. It will also provide connectivity to the project. The residents of this project will benefit from that connection, whether they would be traveling east to get to 3 Oaks or visit neighbors or friends in the neighborhood adjacent. School buses will find it more convenient to connect between the two residences. You heard from the fire chief regarding the improvement in the time for the fire trucks to be able to get to the Cambria subdivision. So there are a lot of benefits for making this connection. You know, you heard about the potential for traffic signal. We feel very confident that that signal will be reviewed and viewed favorably by IDOT. It does meet their spacing requirement. That's always the biggest challenge with IDOT, is to make sure that the spacing between a proposed signal and a new signal meets their spacing requirement. And then obviously the volume of traffic, and a combination of this development, the residential and the commercial component, as well as the traffic from the extension of New Haven, the numbers indicate that the signal will be warranted. And that's what we have asked IDOT petition for, is for the traffic signal at this location. And we feel that with a signalized intersection and the improvements that we are proposing at 31, that this intersection will operate very efficiently. So that's a brief synopsis on this study. I may want to add that we have received comments from the village's consultant, and there were a lot of constructive comments in terms of the traffic study. We were able to address most of them. We are in the process of revising the study to make sure that all the comments are incorporated. They have suggested some traffic calming measures that we agree with. I think Mr. Simmons addressed a lot of them relative to you know, creation of high visibility crosswalks, curb extensions, you know, and you know, center line striping similar to what you have on Georgetown, on New Haven, closer to Georgetown to the east. So all of these measures will help you know, improve the traffic calming along that stretch of the road, help reduce the speed. And there are other things that we can consider, and we can certainly suggest that in working with the staff and your consultant, such as, you know, speed tables where, you know, these crosswalks could be raised so they can act as another deterrence for people from speeding. These are feedback speed signs where it can, you know, measure the speed that you're traveling at, and it flashes if you are exceeding it. Those have been very effective. We've introduced those in many municipalities, and it have been worked very successfully. So there are a lot of other things that could be taken into account to help address the concern with the cut-through and help the slowing down the speed of the traffic.
So, Mr. Abuna, thank you. That's appreciated. But I think I want to make sure I heard what you said correctly. You're saying that your traffic study as of tonight is not completed because you're now incorporating comments that came from the engineer. Is that a fair comment?
Well, the study is complete. Your consultant had some additional questions or clarifications that they want us to include in the study, which we are doing.
But it's not complete yet.
But it's not going to change the conclusion or the findings of the traffic study. And I think HR Green, at the end of the day, they I'm not going to speak for them, but there was nothing in their comments that disagrees with our findings or our methodology. They wanted just more clarification and some additional analysis put in there just to kind of make sure that they understand, you know, what the findings are. But there was nothing in there that's going to change the findings of the study.
So here's the challenge that we have, Mr. Abuna. I don't have that information, and neither does anyone else in this committee have it yet. We have what was presented by the petitioner. So I would suggest to you that we don't have that information, again, in fairness to the petitioner, that we don't have a complete package of a traffic study tonight. And as far as I know, tonight, It is blind to anything east of Cary Algonquin Road. There is no information that I could find in that traffic study that speaks to that. Is that true or false?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
So I think the traffic study, in my humble opinion, is insufficient for tonight's hearing because we have to come to a finding of fact. And it's very critical that this committee understands what volume of traffic may originate from the other side of town, let alone Route 31. I'm sitting here looking through these documents. I'm unclear what level of substitution we're talking about. 1,000 cars a day, 5,000 cars a day, 25, I don't know. And the fact of the matter is that when you really get into the weeds of the application, there are two entrances to the Seasons. Someone could easily go to the first one. It's a right-in. They could easily go down that street and access New Haven before the light. And tonight, we don't even know if the light is going to be approved by IDOT. I believe you. I think it's going to be a critical issue. But I think if I look at 3 examples, and Mr. Simmons and I did this just to be transparent, we looked at 3 examples. If you lived on Krenz, we used Google Maps. It wasn't scientific. We said if you went left on Cary Algonquin Road and right up to Clausen and went out down to Walmart, it took about 8 minutes. It does not include the light that we're talking about, so it's going to be longer. We looked at another example. We said, okay, go right on Cary Algonquin Road from Krenz, and then come up this road, and then go on Three Oaks. That was around 9 minutes. And that doesn't have the traffic light at Lutter yet.
Right.
So that's a problem, right? And then we looked at, remember the old geometry teacher in high school? Shortest distance between 2 points?
Right.
It's not a straight line, to be fair to you, but it is the quickest way. And there's going to be maybe a light, maybe. And so that's why I'm saying, in fairness to the petitioner, we don't have complete information about the traffic study. In order for the commissioners to make their own informed decision about the level of traffic that may occur on New Haven Drive, it's incomplete. It's like the real estate piece. I don't know if if real estate prices are going to stay the same. If they're going to go up, they could. They could go down. I don't know. But I don't have any objective data that supports any of that.
Well, I mean, the traffic study does predict the amount of traffic this connection on New Haven will attract. I mean, it's in there based on the redistribution of traffic within Cambria subdivision as well as the traffic from the development. So we have that in the traffic study. So it talks about that additional traffic that would be using that new connection.
I had asked, to be perfectly transparent with yourself, it would be helpful to this committee to have a graph.
Sure.
And says, here's the volume of traffic today, and here's the projected volume of traffic on the 31 side, and then conversely, coming east of Cary Algonquin Road, what does that look like? I think that helps quite a bit. I mean, if we're going to make an honest decision about what the petitioner is asking for, we need information. I think it's clear, and we don't have it. And I need to be fair to the petitioner. I'm trying to, I think the project is good. I think the puzzle is the road. And I know they're trying to be flexible with the village. I know Mr. Simmons very well. I know he'll be thoughtful about this. But we, as the Zoning, Planning, and Appeals Committee, can't make an informed decision without the data. That's
Well,
our job.
I'm happy to continue working with the staff and with your consultant to make sure that that is presented and clearer for the commission. Like I said, we have come up with what we feel is the appropriate amount of traffic that would be using this connection. But I appreciate your point about potentially traffic beyond this area that may be using this connection, and I will take a closer look at that and see if it is that attractive of a route, if we take into account the traffic calming measures.
Yeah.
Because I think, and if we show that graphically to you, I think you'll see that it will become less attractive because of all these measures for people to use, and it really truly becomes more of a neighborhood connection that would benefit the residents of Cambria. Because right now, you essentially have a long cul-de-sac, and it's not, from an emergency response time is not effective, and also it's also helps to have a new outlet to Route 31 to get people quicker to 31 and to their destination versus having to traverse through the entirety of the neighborhood out onto Georgetown, out of Three Oaks, and then back. remember, all of that circulation adds to congestion. And, and traffic, based on our traffic study, looking at Georgetown and Three Oaks, there's a significant amount of traffic being discharged from Georgetown on Three Oaks, and that's largely because of the limited accessibility for this neighborhood. And that's why the comprehensive plan was looking forward to the fact that this area needs better connectivity. And that's what we followed, is in terms of, okay, that makes sense, is to connect neighborhoods and create additional outlets. And we feel that this addresses the spirit of the comprehensive plan and providing better access for both this development as well as for the neighborhood.
I appreciate the additional comments, Mr. Abuna. I think the critical issue is that we need more information. And
Understood.
in my opinion, it's insufficient for tonight. And what I would humbly ask is that also you consider, I know you'll be working with Mr. Simmons and others, the project known as Maplewood has to be considered. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I'm
Also,
not here-
let me interrupt, also the one near Goddard, I don't know if that was included as well.
Well, there's many. There's one right across the street here, Mr. Abuna.
Right.
Just to be quite matter of fact, we're talking about the Seasons project. We're talking about the potential for the Maplewood project. Right across the street is something called Ridgefield Park. That's 38 units. There's another project. There's many projects occurring in the village of Cary. That's a good thing. Those of us that work on this committee, when we created the Unified Development Ordinance, one of the things we said when we were developing it is, one, we couldn't predict every eventuality, but we said if we did the document right, it would create a framework for economic development. And that surely has happened, and we're very proud of that. But the traffic report has to consider other things that are going on in the community. Does Maplewood happen? I don't have a crystal ball, but it should consider the traffic that's coming from there. There's going to be X units, just like he has X units. That's new traffic right out of the gate. There's new cars right out of the gate. So we have to consider that.
And Mr. Abuna, could you, just to that point, so the traffic study, it includes the traffic trip generation that this development will have, correct?
Yes.
And then it also anticipates CMAP projections for development in the area as well, correct?
Correct.
So within the study, then, it's assuming that there's going to be some growth within the study area. Doesn't look at specific development projects or other properties per se, other than this site, but it does have information within it looking at the general growth of traffic within the area of the study.
Projected over 5 years, correct?
Correct.
Yeah,
Projected,
beyond the construction of this
Yes, and
development.
that's-
So it's built into the modeling. It's not development specific, as you pointed out, but yes, it takes that into account.
Correct. So it looks at general growth that is on the road network that's anticipated to occur within, using industry standards for the
Correct.
Chicagoland area.
Correct.
So that you would have that information within the modeling program that you're utilizing for the analysis that would take into account other external development that would be on this property.
Correct.
So, Mr. Abuna, I know what you do is complicated, and sometimes it gets people upset. But I would say that when you're going back and look at your report, and I'm happy to discuss this with Mr. Simmons, because I already have, but specifically on your KLOA report, on page 4, the good news on the chart, it's correct. But it says, we're talking about James Rakow in Central Park Drive. It says it's an unsignalized intersection with a letter at Central Park. It is absolutely signalized. I can tell you that. And all of us that live here know that. So I'm just saying that you need to kind of double-check what you've presented, because some of it is just wrong. And just want to confirm with you that New Haven Drive is a local...
And you're right, and the text is incorrect.
Yes.
But in the analysis, and if you look at the
I agree.
the exhibits, it shows it as
I agree.
signalized. So
I'm just saying that, does it change the outcome? Maybe not, but I'm just saying
it
that
does
when
not, because
you
it was
go back and
analyzed
review
as
it,
signalized intersection.
yeah, just double check it.
Mm-hmm.
And with regard to New Haven Drive, we're saying that it's a local roadway or a collector roadway? That's page number 5, the last paragraph.
It's a residential collector.
Okay, so how did you come to that conclusion? Because in our comprehensive plan, and also in our existing conditions plan, it says it's a local roadway.
A lot of times we use the IDOT classification. So IDOT has classifications for the roadway, so we follow that. But I agree with you, in this case, we probably should use the local municipality
I thank you for
classification.
that. All right. So I don't want to monopolize the time more than I already have, because we have other commissioners here that may have questions, and I want to give them every opportunity to ask questions that they have. Yeah? All right, well, thank you very much, Mr. Abuna. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're about at 8 o'clock, so I know you've been sitting there patiently for 2 hours, so I'm going to ask publicly, does anyone need a 5-10-minute break, bio break, or do you want?
I would suggest a recess of 10 minutes, Mr. Commissioner.
All right, so the chair is going to entertain a motion to take a 10-minute break.
Second.
All right, we're going to take a 10-minute break, folks. Please reconvene at 8:15 PM, please. Thank you very much.
Back to work.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come back on the record, so if we could please be seated. Thank you very much. So we're back on the record at about 8:18 PM. So I just had a quick discussion with council, and we think one of the things that we need to do now, again, in fairness to the petitioners, that in fairness, we need to recap some of what we just did. We're not going to say you're not going to be speaking, you're going to be speaking. Mr. Simmons here needs about 5 minutes to recap some of the relief that the petitioner is seeking, and our job here is to be fair. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to be fair to you, and we're going to be fair to the petitioner. So Mr. Simmons has got a little bit of a recap of what the petitioner is seeking for relief beyond the road, and it's important for you to understand that, okay? So give us 5 minutes. Mr. Simmons got a quick recap, and then we're going to come to the public, and we'll take it from there. So over to you, Mr. Simmons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So again, the request this evening is related to, obviously, the proposed development before us here this evening, mixed-use development with commercial and residential. The relief that's being sought for the development includes a couple of actionable items by the ZPA this evening, which include an amendment to the comprehensive plan. Again, the designation for the property is currently commercial, and they are seeking to modify that current designation to both commercial and multifamily. There's guidance in both the comprehensive plan and also the Cary-Algonquin sub-area plan for Route 31 corridor that speaks towards future land uses in the area and the desire to maintain commercial frontage along Route 31, but also to potentially add additional housing within the area to support that commercial. So the plan is currently presented for the redevelopment of the site. Staff believes is in conformance with the comprehensive plan guidance in this area. Secondly, they're asking for a map amendment for the property. Again, the property is currently zoned B2 shopping center business. They're seeking to rezone the portion of the property for the proposed multifamily project. And the remainder of the site across Route 31 would remain as B2 for future commercial development in the area. The zoning, as evidenced by the map here, is consistent with other apartment and townhome developments in the area, specifically consistent with properties located in the northeast of the site and the Cambria and New Haven townhomes, which are both zoned R3 for those multifamily structures. And the B2 is consistent with other shopping center districts within the village as well. They're also asking this evening for a plat of subdivision related to the project, which would create the lots of record for development. As summarized in the slide, lots 1 and 3 would be the commercial outlots. Lot 2 would be for internal access drives. Lots 4, 5, and 6 would consist of the proposed residential project. And then Lot 7 would be a temporary lot created for potential extension of New Haven Drive, and then would require a future plat of dedication upon acceptance of the improvements for that roadway once constructed. There are other outlots that are also created in the plan for the management and construction of the stormwater basins on the site. Within the PUD, there are various departures that they're seeking related to the development, which I'll summarize the 5 that are requested. The first is a building setback along the New Haven Drive. Code requirement for the R3 district is a minimum setback of 30 feet. They're requesting a 15-foot setback for a few structures. As noted in the plan, Building G is the northwest corner of that site. Our building would be set back 15 feet. Majority of that building, however, would be set back greater than that distance, as it would have a larger setback as it goes from west to east. And then the 2 buildings C's and D will have a 24-foot setback at their nearest point to the roadway. On the north end, they're also proposing a 15-foot setback In the staff report, there's a modification to that to increase that to 20 feet for the buildings A and B, and reduce the rear yard parking setback on the north end of the property from 15 feet to 10 feet. The other setback that is being requested is on the internal access drive to the buildings on the western portion of the property. They're requesting a relief to decrease from 30 feet to 24 feet to buildings C, E, and F. As you can notice in the bump out image, the majority of those buildings actually be constructed at that setback line or exceeding the setback requirement. There's a small bump out of each building that would be the side of the building that would face that roadway at that 24 feet. A third departure that's being requested is to the parking standards for the development. Again, seeking a reduction from 810 parking spaces to 784 parking spaces for the site. As petitioner mentioned, the parking ratio would be about 2.17 spaces per unit when code is 2.25 spaces per unit. The mixture of units on the site, again, our code does not differentiate currently between 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. So the same number of spaces are required for a 1 bedroom unit, which would generally have a lower parking demand than a 3 bedroom unit would as well. The fourth departure they're asking is an increase in the required density for the project, which would be code is currently 9 units per acre. They're seeking to increase it to 13 units per acre. As you can see by the slide, the proposed density is in keeping with other developments that have been approved within the village as far as the densities perspective. Obviously, the site is larger from a number of unit count, but the total acreage would still be consistent with other apartment developments within the community. And finally, from a monument sign perspective, they are asking for departure to have some additional monument signs above what the code would allow. Code provides 1 sign, max of 24 square feet. They're proposing 3 total signs of 34 square feet for 1 sign and 2 other smaller monument signs of 15 square feet, as indicated on the image on the right, those locations. As mentioned, the development will have landscaping as provided per code, which include a transition area along the east property line and south property line to the Hoffman Park property, and other landscaping throughout the site as compliant with code requirements as well. The other relief that's asked for this evening is related to the stormwater ordinance variance. As mentioned previously, the village is a certified community, which allows us to administer and enforce the stormwater ordinance at the local level, as opposed to relying on the county for the review of any potential relief. The petitioner is asking for relief related to the stormwater basins to be constructed on the property, and the maximum drawdown time is required for those basins to increase from 72 hours to 96 hours for the basins on the property. There would be 3 basins that would be at compliance with that standpoint. 2 basins would draw down significantly before the 96 hours. And that variance would be subject to verification at the final permit issuance to confirm the design of the stormwater basins. As mentioned, there are various standards within the municipal unified development ordinance for the review of these items. This would be the standards for a stormwater management ordinance variance per the county's regulations. And then also there are map amendment standards within the code for the proposed map amendment to rezone the property from the B2 to the R3 district, as summarized in the slide. And additionally, there are plan development standards within the unified development regulations for the design and development of sites within UDOs. And the petitioner did provide responses to those standards within their report. And summarizes the actionable items that are requested this evening are specifically for the comprehensive plan, future land use map amendment, the amendment to the B2 zoning district, or to rezoning the property from B2 to B2 and B3, the final plat of subdivision, the proposed PUD, and also the variance for the McHenry County Stormwater Ordinance. Be happy to answer the questions the ZPA may have, but also happy to have public feedback as well.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Simmons. So what we're trying to do now here, folks, is we're going to leave this slide up. And before I want to double check with any of the members of the ZBA if you have any questions on Mr. Simmons' summary of that request. So that's the application. That's what the petitioner is seeking right here. So if any of you in the audience have questions about any of these 5 conditions and the recommendations by Mr. Simmons, we'd like to hear those comments first. I think it's well known now that there's a problem potentially with the road called New Haven and the extension. So first, it doesn't prevent you from talking about the road. You're absolutely welcome to do that. But first, in fairness to the petitioner, we're trying to understand from your public comment if anyone has any concerns on items 1 through 5. So maybe I can just start from the front row. Anyone in the front row have concerns? I know we have, yep, come right up and just please state your name and address for the record, and thank you very much.
Sure, I'm Patty Hewlin. I'm at 1174 Cimarron Drive in Cary. And in regards to item 1, the comprehensive plan for the future, New Haven, I guess we had kind of heard that that was originally a local road. Is that correct? I was a little confused on that.
So remember when we spoke, Patty, earlier, that one of the things that we're trying not to do, but yes to your answer, is that we're not trying to get into a back and forth, but yes is the short answer. New Haven is defined as a local road.
Okay, so then that is going against the amendment for approval for number 1 then, right? That would be changing that.
Potentially.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I've got the list of people that signed in, but I at this point now, I'm not sure if I can read off the list because maybe the first name wants to talk about the roadway, and we're not talking about items number 1 through 5. So I'm going to stay in the second row. Anyone in the second row have any questions on item 1 through 5 that you have concerns about? Okay, the third row. Any concerns about item 1 through 5? Fourth row, United States Marines. Mr. Vole.
James Vold, 29 Montclair Drive, Cary. Going to start by asking the civil engineer a question, because to make sure I understood him right. I believe he said that the drainage in this area is better than normal. Because you said it, I can't remember your exact wording.
What I was trying to say is that within the greater Chicagoland area, it's typically more of a, we'll say, a clayey soil base, right?
This is
And
drainage and
This
limestone.
infiltrates at a higher than the greater Chicagoland area average, and it meets what would be the typical minimum requirements to qualify for an infiltration basin, which is 0.5 inches per hour.
Okay, so if it is better than the Chicago area, I see no reason why they would need to have the stormwater variance.
Thank you, Mr. Vole. I
Okay,
appreciate that.
One other thing is the setbacks. People go walking their dogs, they're usually in front of their houses, like you look every other neighborhood and stuff. With the setbacks being shorter, people are gonna be closer to the road. I think it's gonna be unsafe, even if you don't extend Cary-Algonquin Road out there. You know, it'd be unsafe for the people that live here. They need to keep your setbacks at 30, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Vole. And just so we're being sincere to the process, I want to try to reframe what we talked about during public comment. We're trying to be open-minded. And so the process is not for us to do a Q&A like a prosecutor or a defense attorney is examining a witness. That's not the process. We're cataloging the questions. We're giving the petitioner the opportunity to catalog the questions. And then upon rebuttal, we're going to ask them to come back up here, okay? So,
I just wanted to make sure
I understood
what he said.
it's okay, Mr. Vole. I told you we're an open-minded group up here, and we're going to stay open-minded. I'm just trying to be sincere to the process, too, okay? So anyway, fourth row, I think no other questions about item number 1 through 5. Sixth row, anyone in the sixth row? Come on up. Yeah. And welcome.
Number 5, approval of variance for the stormwater ordinance.
Can you speak into the microphone so we can capture your comment? Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, Ginny Palumbo, 1387 New Haven Drive. Approval of the variance of the stormwater ordinance. Now it's 24 hours or 48 hours?
72.
It's 72 hours now? And then you want to go to 96? I'm just thinking of the mosquitoes and all that. You're just going to add another day of mosquitoes and bugs, more bugs. And to be honest, with the rains we've had, I think it should stay what the current variance, what the current standard is.
Understood.
That's all.
Thanks, Ms. Palumbo. Oh, all right. Just come up, state your name and address for the record, please.
Linda Barrett, 500 New Haven Drive, Cary. Mine also is regarding setback. We have a lot of snow that ends up accumulating along New Haven. That setback, when things start to, we have mounds that are probably 20 feet high at the ends of our driveways. I don't know when you end up with a narrow setback, it's of concerns, especially around any curved areas. So also for consideration, you should think about that. And we haven't talked about speed zones or any of the traffic zones, so I didn't see that mentioned anywhere. And also your garbage refuge, which way it faces on your property. And then my last thing, which is not part of this, but maybe part of the approval, is 40 years and you own property, what's the succession planning? If you sell, what's our plan?
Understood, and thank you. It's a good question. Okay, so I think I'm going to be back there in row 7 or 8 now. I'm not sure if I missed anybody back there, and I'm not sure how many rows we actually have in the room. But is there anyone back there that wants to speak on items 1 through 5?
I have a question about drainage.
All right, well, ladies first, sorry.
Hi, my name is Cindy Deach. I live at 148 Savoy Drive. And it's not exactly item 5, and I know no question and answer, but the storm sewers that are listed on the plan, unless I'm reading the plan incorrectly, it shows a 12-inch storm sewer 4 feet from property behind several houses. And I'm curious, are you going to dig on our properties to install that? If so, I have something to say, but if not, if it's like something you go somehow connect, to connect into the existing infrastructure.
What we're going to do, to your point, is that they're cataloging these questions, and we're going to give them an opportunity to respond directly to your questions,
Okay.
and we're going to get you an answer.
Okay,
All right?
thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Aaron Myro, 8 New Haven Drive. Just regarding point number 5, we've seen several record-breaking floods across the country very recently, and with reducing the drawdown time for the stormwater, that seems like that could be a problem, especially given the low variation in elevation between the proposed and the existing housing.
Thank you. All right, so thank you for your patience, everyone. I know there's probably something else on your mind. And so if there's anyone that wants to come forward now and speak to other issues that are not listed in item 1 through 5, you're more than welcome to do that at this time.
Do you want to have the developer respond first?
But if you want, I thought we were going to do all of the Q&A.
I was just
Okay.
from a,
All right, so sorry, Linda, we're going to have the developer come back up now and respond to those questions, and we're going to come back. All right.
Okay, so I've been living in the community for 20 years, Linda Barrett, 500 New Haven Drive. And we had an SSA that was built in to our New Haven community, of which was, correct me, 30,000, I believe, per unit, which covered the infrastructure and New Haven Drive. So I would say it would be something that would be behoove for the board to consider reimbursing many of the owners of New Haven Drive if that does open up our drive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, folks, so we're going to...
if they want to respond to the issues.
So, gentleman of fiduciary, Mr. DeRosa, you're welcome to respond to the comments that you just heard.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first comment or question I heard was regarding water ponding variance only related to that. I'm going to have Jared. Jared, can you address that comment along with the second to last comment or question we just heard regarding flooding concerns and recent floods throughout the country?
I think I can handle those two, and I think there was one other about the 12-inch storm
Yeah,
sewer.
the utility along the east property line.
Those were the three that I wrote, but excuse me if I missed one. I'm going to address the 12-inch storm sewer question first. So there is one 12-inch storm sewer that is located as a connection point to the existing storm sewer system. This is being provided as an additional surplus kind of relief, if you will, which is part of standard protocol. I can't show it up there. I don't.
Do we have it?
You'd have to find sheet 12 of the utility plan. I'm not sure if it's specifically going to be, right, yeah, 12. I think that's the one you're referring to, if I'm correct. That's the only 12-inch storm sewer I could find that was offsite. All right, well, we'll come back to that, I guess. Let me address, I guess, the questions relative to the stormwater variance. And I think, as was pointed out by the gentleman, yes, this is a well-draining area. However, what makes this site unique is the fact that there is a large existing depressional storage, which is a low point, essentially, that's sitting there on the site today. In fact, if you look at it most of the time on aerials or anything else, it because of the well-draining nature of the soil, it's not like it's a giant lake, right? You probably don't even notice it. So that's what makes it a little bit unique, is because that's there today, the drainage of the site actually, it goes into this existing depressional storage area, and it sits there and it drains through the soil. So what makes it unique and challenging from a civil engineering design perspective is typically you're allowed to release, right? You've got some stormwater that's traveling through the site, travels over the land, makes its way off the site, and because of that, that becomes what you're allowed to, in a proposed development, you're allowed to then meet. Well, when the site is just absorbing down into the ground, there's no stormwater leaving the site, that becomes a condition as part of your design that you have to match. So because we have to match that, what makes it unique is the fact that not only are we providing our typical stormwater drainage, for the fact that we're developing it, we're also providing excess for this large existing depressional storage area, which basically doubles the amount of a typical detention requirement. So what our request is from a variance perspective is not providing less volume. Again, we're doubling the volume. And in regards to your record-breaking floods comment, this particular site is going to provide quite a bit of excess volume. We don't even fill up the ponds that we're showing because we're basically providing, in some ways, extra detention on site as a result of providing for this existing depressional storage. We're required to basically provide a 1-for-1. So basically, if there was a 5-gallon bucket of water that used to fill up on site, we provide the same 5-gallon bucket of water, and then imagine a lot more buckets. And then on top of that, we're providing an extra 5-gallon bucket for our development. So instead of 5 gallons of bucket of water that you used to have, now we got 10. So in that sense, it's improving it. And what we're asking for is, because now we've got a 10-gallon bucket of water, it's just going to take a little bit extra time than what would be typical to empty out. So what we're asking for is just a slight variance relative to that. And then I think that covered those two. Now sliding back to the 12-inch. So good practice here is, as much as we are relying on the infiltration in the soils, right? And I think Commissioner Neal, I think, brought up the fact that the Springs development, which is in Crystal Lake, was doing some routine maintenance on the ponds. So part of the strategy relative to any civil engineering practice is we're kind of required to almost like, I've always heard the belt and suspenders approach, right? Not only do we have to put the belt on, but we have to throw on the suspenders in case the belt breaks. So because of that, we've got this 12-inch storm sewer pipe that allows for in the case of these record-breaking storm events, so to speak, that you have another place for the water that it can go. So that's just part of good common engineering practice, and that's what that 12-inch pipe, which is in the far upper right hand of the page, if you can show it there. And that's within existing easement. So that is, we're just placing it within an existing easement area that grants for public utilities, which is what this would serve, because it's an outfall pipe for the pipe. And realistically, it's an outfall pipe that most of the time is not active because of the infiltration of the basins. I think I covered all the questions. If anyone felt like their question wasn't answered, I guess raise your hand relative to what I just brought up. There's an existing storm sewer pipe there. And then that connects up. Correct.
Mr. Vole, if we're going to do what we're not supposed to do, you got to come up to the microphone so everybody can hear what the comment is.
So the comment I can reiterate is it connects into an existing storm sewer that's in the Cambria subdivision in the northeast corner of the subject property. So that sewer that's proposed would be along the north side of New Haven Drive. If you can follow my mouse on the screen, that would connect into that existing storm sewer that's in that area that would drain to the north. And then that, just to clarify, that storm sewer only is connected to Basin 4. It's not connected to any other basins on the property.
Correct.
A couple of the other questions, there was a comment and question regarding the setbacks about narrowing and so maybe it sounds like a snow plowing, excuse me, snow plowing throughout the Cambria subdivision. So the relief we're requesting on the building setback does not change the right-of-way. So the New Haven design is per city standards for what the public right-of-way is. And typically right-of-way would extend beyond or to the back side or maybe even a little bit further than the city public sidewalk. And typically when a street is plowed, the snow is pushed off the street, up over the curb, between the curb and the sidewalk. So there would be no instance where the relief or request on the building setback is going to adversely affect the ability for the street to be safely plowed or sidewalks to be maintained.
Thank you, Mr. DeRosa.
There was also a question about trash. How is trash handled, trash enclosures, trash compactor, whatnot. Rather than having a single large trash compactor or a super-sized trash enclosure, we do smaller. We have, I believe, 7 or 8 smaller size trash enclosures throughout the multifamily development with an opening or a gate, none of which face east towards the neighborhood. They're skinned with a consistent family materials that mimic what's on our buildings. In general height, 7 feet plus or minus. They're relatively smaller scale structures. In terms of, there's a comment or question regarding succession planning. I won't stand up here and say that we've never sold a property. But what I think is important to look at is what is our history, what is our track record. We generally hold on to properties longer term. Sometimes we have sold properties. The last 4 properties that we have developed, we have chosen not to sell, and we're putting longer-term permanent financing on them, and we're going to hold them long-term. When you look at our portfolio as a company, our average hold period is about 17 years. So we're not really in the business of building and flipping. We're not considered what some would call a merchant builder or merchant developer. We're typically a long-term holder. And then there was a comment regarding SSA and $30,000, but I don't think that was directed at me as a question.
I think that's fair. So I think to be fair to you, Mr. DeRosa, I think I don't want to unnecessarily burden Mr. Simmons, but do you want to respond to that?
Sure.
Or- yeah.
Yeah, so the SSA is a way that a developer can finance a project or development or public improvements within a development. So the SSA covered the public infrastructure that went into the Cambria subdivision back when it was developed in the early 2000s. So related to that, typically when the developer or development constructs a facility, that price for those improvements and what the property's share is for those improvements comes off the general sale price for the home when it was originally developed. So that's a way that they can finance the development as opposed to paying for those improvements up front. It's paid up for through a financing program through the SSA, through the landowners in that development. So that would be the extent of it, and I believe that SSA is set to expire in 2027. I think the last year to pay is 2028. That, sure.
All right, so thank you for that, Mr. DeRosa. So, folks, I know you've been very patient out there, and I know there might be other questions other than items number 1 through 5 here. So if you want to comment further on the application, now is the time to do so. And I have a list of names, but I think what we're going to probably do is try the same approach that we just went through. So those lucky enough to sit in the front row, if you'd like to comment on any other aspect of the application, you're welcome to do so now. Second row.
Hi, my name is Chris Nagoda. I'm 1370 Mulberry in Cary. And I did go to the contractor meeting back in April. I had no knowledge of it. I saw like a Facebook post and I made a note of it to go. And then the day of, I couldn't find that Facebook post. So I called the village and they said, yes, we're having a meeting. It's not our meeting. We're just letting the contractor use the room. And it's from 4 to 6. And I thought, that's pretty odd time because people would be at work. And I'm very thankful that you did put tonight's meeting with the flashing sign, because I thought, we all live, we all have to take New Haven to go home, and everybody should have been notified. And so when I came in and I talked to the petitioners and I saw their posters, I said, why 4 to 6? And why wasn't everybody notified? And he said the same thing Mr. Simmons said. We only had to notify people within 250 feet of the project, which I thought was outrageous because New Haven affects all of us. And I did, again, think New Haven, the opening up is outrageous. And I did ask, I spoke to that man, and I said, why would you even consider this? He said to me that it is not them, it is the village that wants this. That is what he said to me. And I was there, I stayed about an hour, and between myself, there was maybe another 8 people that came between 4 and 5. Nobody wanted New Haven opened up, and they weren't all too keen on the development either. So that's what happened that day. Let me see, I was like making some more notes. I also wondered, the petitioner said, it's not their idea, it's part of Cary's comprehensive plan. And when he was talking about the traffic study, I said, they said they had done traffic studies in other developments, but this whole thing about the traffic study, and I've seen the strips on New Haven, but your point about all this traffic that's gonna start coming through, how could you even do a realistic traffic study when all this traffic, all this cut-through traffic, that's what's really gonna happen? So just the day-to-day traffic study, to me, that's not a realistic picture because you're gonna have all this cut-through. And anybody that thinks that's not gonna happen, it's gonna happen. And it's funny you mentioned Lake Zurich because I used to live in Lake Zurich, and I saw that thing they built by the Walmart so that you can only go in like the one way. But that's not good either. We don't want the traffic coming through New Haven. Nobody does. Find me one person that wants that. Nobody does. Okay, so my next comments are, why are we even doing this? Why are we doing another, well, it was 400 when I was at the contractor meeting, so now they have lowered it. But with Crystal Lake just adding their 3 developments, there is so much traffic, so much congestion now. Do we really need this? Another 360 development, not to mention the Maplewood that's going in. Where are all these people gonna go? All this traffic, how are we gonna handle it all? And I think they mentioned that there was a market need in the 2015 plan, like study, like that's, well, it's 10 years later. There's 3 developments that have been built in Crystal Lake. The 2 by Walmart and the one where the old Walmart used to be. Then you're gonna have this monstrosity of Maplewood built. Are there people that are gonna be able to fill these units at the rents that they're asking for? I don't think so. I feel that the area should remain commercial. I think that's the best use. Considering developing the thoroughfare for the Seasons project and opening up New Haven to 31, extremely detrimental to the Cambria neighborhood. There's already 2 entrances for the Seasons development off of 31. There is no reason, other than what we found out tonight, is that they really want it so that they can get that traffic light put in. That's the only reason. And I'm glad that you did talk to those people in the neighborhoods by Walmart about not having their thoroughfares going. Because I can remember back in the day, before that Walmart was proposed, and there was a big development when Walmart used to be at the other place, and those neighborhoods they were not for the Walmart, they were not for the new housing. I mean, this was quite a while ago, but they certainly didn't want any traffic coming through their neighborhoods. So I'm glad that you asked them about that. Connecting New Haven to this property would increase traffic and congestion. It's our only main road in and out. There's a lot of walkers, bikers, kids, people walking dogs. It's a curvy road. So even sometimes when we're walking there, when we're walking our dog, sometimes a car will come whipping around that curve, and you have to be careful. And if you're gonna subsequently increase the traffic, it's just gonna be dangerous. And it's a big safety concern. And if you do this, you're gonna forever change our little safe sanctity of the neighborhood. And once you do it, there's no going back, unless you would just close it up again. So I sincerely hope you give consideration to if you're gung-ho on the development, I guess I can't say anything about that. But opening up New Haven, no need for it. Please don't do it. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think I'm in the second row. Anyone else in the second row? Third row. Any comments?
Again, my name is Cindy Deach. I live at 148 Savoy Drive. My husband Mike and I live on our properties on the western side of Savoy Drive and directly backs to the proposed development. So far, what I've heard about the most is opposition to the extension of New Haven Drive to Route 31. And while that is, hold on, I'm old now, you gotta give me a second. While that's a valid concern, worthy of its own set of meetings, for me, it is not the biggest concern. I wish my biggest concern was an increase in traffic. What I'm most worried about is the building of a 360-unit, high-density apartment rental complex immediately adjacent to my neighborhood and my yard, our beautiful, safe, raise your kids on quiet streets neighborhood. I understand wanting to take advantage of the apartment boom going on, but the market's quickly becoming saturated. Cary already has 228 units going in on the Maplewood property, and adjacent to the Seasons proposal site lie the Springs at 3 Oaks Apartments and Redwood of Crystal Lake. When this apartment boom ends, and just like every other real estate fad, it will end. What is the plan? What happens then? Is there a plan in place for those 360 units? Will they transition to owner-occupied residential condos and townhomes? One could argue that's what they should be to begin with. But more importantly, when demand wanes and units begin to sit empty, if the owner-investor isn't hitting their profit margins anymore, have you put clear guardrails in place to prevent this from turning a luxury development into something much less and much different? Additionally, might be just my opinion, but while these are hopefully long-term rentals, even long-term renting is often not conducive to investing in a community. Not in the same way as homeownership. People are less likely to get involved in the PTA, get a seat on the board, join the Rotary Club. I'm not saying that doesn't happen at all, but when people rent, they're less likely to put down deep roots, and deep roots are essential to further the growth of a community. Within the proposal itself, there are several issues that would need to be addressed. I'm sorry if I didn't understand the answer to this sewer, but it was for us along Savoy Drive. There were 4 12-inch sewers that were shown, and it showed 4 feet in. If that's
Yeah.
actually being dug out on our property,
Can I answer this one,
Yeah.
I guess? Sorry, I
Sure.
know we're not trying to make this question.
I said we'd be
answer.
open-minded.
I
so go
couldn't
ahead.
resist. I couldn't resist. I apologize.
Okay.
The only off-site utility connections that we are looking to make
Okay.
is a 12-inch water main at the far southeast corner of the property that is intended to allow for a loop per
Okay.
fire protection requests, and then several connections into the New Haven Drive area for sanitary sewer and water main. Any other utilities that may be shown, they may have caused confusion, is just probably existing utilities in those areas. We're
Okay.
not intending on tying
So you're
in.
not gonna dig up 4 different yards? or
No,
something? Okay.
no,
So
no.
we're
Actually,
good there.
actually at one point, I always like to say areas where we improve, right? At one point, we did show a second sanitary connection that was in the rear yard. And based on some feedback from the petitioners, we looked to then isolate our sanitary connection to one place so we would have less of an impact on the adjacent residents. So I would like to point that out.
Okay, that's
Right.
all for
We
now.
got rid of it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I think we're in the third row, and let's see if there's any other public comment from the third row. We'll move to the fourth row.
All right, Tim Collins, 70 Montclair. Yes, Collins, I am the Collins of Collins Drive. You guys are from Milwaukee. You all from Milwaukee. You don't go here and see the traffic on Three Oaks Road during rush hour in the morning. You don't go and probably not spend time on New Haven by, watching people walking their dogs, dragging their kids across the street with their fishing poles. I see that every day. You open up this road, guess what? The traffic is going to be just like Three Oaks Road. I mean, I remember Three Oaks Road when it was a farm field. And now, look at it. And you all know how everybody drives nowadays, including the truckers that go over here to Sage. Guess what? Oh, hey, shortcut. I'm driving through New Haven. I mean, I used to see them get lost through our neighborhood. I knew exactly what was going on. They're lost because they're driving by Google. That's what's going to happen. Everybody in this neighborhood, in this whole town, people going to Crystal Lake, going on the other side of Cary, they're going to see a shortcut. Guess what? Shortcut is going to be New Haven because Three Oaks Road is backed up, 14's back up. That's what's going to happen. Spend some time here and watch the traffic. Now, increase it by, 50%. That's what's going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Okay, so I think I was in the fourth row. Yeah, I know. We're going to try, we're going to maybe go over a little bit, but we're going to try and see if there's public comment and see where that takes us. So I'm in the fourth row. Any other comments from the fourth row?
I'll get there eventually.
Thank you for your service, Maureen.
Hoorah! Tom Gillis, 26 New Haven Drive. I've lived there since 2015. I personally don't have a problem per se with the concept of the development. That's fine. It could be good for the village. Maybe it's not, but that's not my concern. My concern is the traffic. You open up New Haven Drive to Route 31, and you're going to have Route 31 going right down New Haven Drive. The developer, Mr. Stated that he needs to have New Haven Drive, and it will increase his value. But at whose expense? It's going to be at our expense, because when you start putting traffic down a street like New Haven Drive, you're going to see for sale signs going out. When you see for sale signs going out, prices come down. So I would like for you to really keep that in mind. And then this big overall beautiful traffic plan, all it does is ensure that you have the steady flow of traffic, but all that traffic is going to flow steadily down New Haven Drive. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, so I think we're now moving on to the fifth row. Any comments from the fifth? Mr. Vole? All right, well, let me see if we can do it a little bit differently. Who else wants to speak beyond row 5? Okay, come on up.
My name's Alicia Hahn, 111 Savoy Lane, 23-year Cary resident, original homeowner in Cambria. I had all kinds of notes. First thing I'll say is I'm actually really happy with the diligence and the questions that are being asked today, because I honestly came in here thinking this was going to be a bit of a rubber stamp kind of meeting. So first off, I want to say I'm going to double down on some things that have already been said. One thing that's become clear to me sitting here today is I kind of kept scratching my head, like, why? Why do we need the road? Why does the developer need the road? And I think what I've learned tonight is it's about that traffic light. It's about getting success out of their retail piece of this property. Without the traffic light, they don't have it approved yet, and I don't think they're going to get it approved if it's just solely accessing their property. Hence, they need to connect it to New Haven Drive. I'm not going to repeat everything everyone else said about traffic. I double down on everything. The only other thing I would add that's still a little unclear on me, unclear to me, is on page, 14, the $39 million in economic benefit. The math doesn't math for me. I'm not getting it, how 600 apartment units and a couple of drive-through retail spots are going to bring that kind of economic value to Cary. If anything, I think by giving Cary residents access out to 31 is going to take more of our sales dollars over to Crystal Lake, not bring it into Cary. So that's all I have to add.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm moving, I think I'm in around row 5. Yeah, come on up.
Good evening. My name is Megan Rushinsky. I am at 124 Savoy Drive, Cary, so I too need the glasses, so I'm right there with you. First of all, I wanted to say, I lost my place. Thank you to Tony and Ashley and to Dave for taking the time in April to meet with us. Your willingness to listen to the community as members who attended to take our feedback seriously was appreciated. Implementing some of our suggestions was appreciated, and the engagement matters. However, despite that effort, and that concern still remains that these are our apartments. And with that comes transient lifestyles that don't fundamentally fit into what our community is. In our neighborhood specifically. As a homeowner of 20 plus years and an original homeowner, I've seen it firsthand how this community thrives on the stability in its relationships and shared values. This proposal threatens to disrupt the balance. I'm not even going to talk to the congestion and the traffic because we do know that that is still a concern. Security and community cohesion is something that does have something important to me. We are a community that's strong with our relationship accountability and long-term homeowners. The surge of transient occupancy undermines the trust and weakens our social fabric and keeps our community secure is what we want to do. I do have a personal invested in this elevation. I live behind. I'm concerned about the elevation being equal to Walmart. I know you say it's not going to. I've seen that backyard flood. I have tons of concerns about what this is going to look like moving forward. This isn't about resisting progress. It's about being thoughtful and responsible in planning, respecting the values of the infrastructure, the long-term investments in our neighborhood, and the value that we all have in these homes that we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, folks, I know we're going a little bit past, and I want to respect everybody's time, and I want to say thank you to your patience. So just by show of hands, who else? I know, Mr. Vole, you said you got about 30 minutes. But, okay, we're going to try to get through. There's about 4 more comments, so why don't you come forward, whoever's in the blue? You, sir. Thank you very much.
My name is Richard Yell. I live at 1409 New Haven Drive. First thing I'd like to say, Patrick, is thank you. I feel like we have been here before, and I feel like this is the first time we've had someone actually champion our cause. Thank you very much. It's greatly appreciated. But from a personal level, I have a son who's autistic. He's walking every day. He's on New Haven every day. Whether he's walking to the park, Whether he's following around the garbage guy on Mondays, which is one of his favorite things to do, whether he's walking the dog, he's out there all the time. I'm out there as well. I know how bad the traffic can be. I shouldn't have to be sitting at home worrying about my son just walking up and down the street. And we mentioned the traffic studies. I haven't read the exact one, but I read what was in the paper on July 10th in regards to the traffic study, and they were discussing how this will be a winning situation for both neighborhoods, and how this will be reducing travel on major roadways. Well, if you're reducing traffic on major roadways, where's that traffic going? It's going to New Haven. Everybody knows it. And there's a ton of traffic already, and this is just going to make it worse at this point. So, and you had mentioned before, you were talking about the train station and people going from the train station and cutting down Industrial Drive. They're cutting by Goddard School. You've got tons of kids there too. I mean, you're dealing with other situations as well in that situation. But as far as our streets go, as far as everything else in regards to that, when the developers are talking about this and they're discussing it, my question is this: you're putting people into these, you're moving people and tenants in here. How is this all this additional traffic actually benefiting them? How is that a marketing point? How is that a selling point to them, having all this additional traffic for their subdivision as well as ours? That's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so I think, I'm not even sure what row I'm back there, 6 or 7, but is there anyone along with the gentleman that's seated that wants to speak?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Susan Clark. I live at 1582 New Haven Drive, the last building in the cul-de-sac. Just wanted to say, first of all, thank you, everybody here. Tuesdays and Thursdays are very different in this room. Haven't had the eye rolls and the disgusted looks. I appreciate all of the information and the very thoughtful questions. Questions that we now have more of because, you know, we don't know what you know with your background in developing these things. I think at the end of the day, you're going to hear multiple people saying that we're worried about safety and we already have speeding and it's a curvy road and we're worried about all those things. You're going to hear it multiple times. But I think at the end of the day, I'm a little confused as to who has the final say on whether this goes through. Is it zoning or is it the village board or is it a combination of both? I don't think I understand completely. And second of all, I don't know if anybody on the board or the zoning committee lives in our neighborhood, but before decisions are made and you've got a representation of how we feel about the situation, I just would ask that you take a moment and think, if this was my neighborhood, is this what I would want for my neighborhood? You know, for the children that are playing there and getting on buses there and people that are enjoying multiple parks there, because there are more than just the 2 that are right on New Haven. There are some on the side streets as well. You know, that's it. Just consider if it was your home, if it was your neighborhood, if it was your children, is this what you would want?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So folks, I'm going to try to, is the young lady want to come forward over here? Come on up. And just so I'm clear, who else in the back? We got a couple of more. All right, so we can go one of 2 ways, guys. I'll be flexible here. This is what we do. We can be flexible on the remaining balance of questions. Mr. Vole said he's going to go 30 minutes, and we're not going to get to that tonight, Mr. Vole. So more than likely what we'll need to do is extend public comments to a future date and time if you're going to be speaking for 30 minutes. And I want to respect your ability to publicly comment. I said I would support that, and you're more than welcome to do that. I also need to be fair to the petitioner, so we said 9 o'clock. We're coming up to 9:15, but go right ahead.
Jenny Palumbo, 1387 New Haven Drive. You've heard about all the traffic. The traffic study, granted, it was lower this year, or whenever they did it, But you forget COVID. COVID brought a lot of people working from home, and they're still working from home. So there's still the same amount of cars and stuff. It just might not be going during the rush hour. You have to think of that. Other thing with the traffic down New Haven, we have the wonderful District 26 buses going by Aldi. So you've got the trains, and who wants to sit in that traffic with all those buses? Let's just sneak around New Haven, we can avoid all those buses. And it's gonna happen. I mean, I've been told by the village administrator that it's not gonna happen. Nobody's gonna go down New Haven. I mean, you're hearing it. We know it's gonna happen. My question on Tuesday was to them, what's gonna happen, or actually it was 2 weeks ago, what's gonna happen if you guys realized you made a mistake? Oh, we're gonna do calming. A lot of people that have lived there, I've lived there for over 20 years. A lot of people that live there, they like being able to park on the street, because you have a lot of those townhomes, they have 2 parking spaces. That's it. They have guests over. Where are they going to park if you start taking parking away on that street too? So that you can open New Haven for, we don't know why. We still don't understand why. No one has been able to tell us exactly why you're opening New Haven, what the motivation is. Is it to bring people to downtown Cary? Have them use Three Oaks, because that is a main road. New Haven is not. The comprehensive plan, I was told, well, that's in the comprehensive plan. It's been in the comprehensive plan for years. But comprehensive plans can change, just like Hoffman Park. Or was it whatever, I think it was Hoffman Park, whatever the park district annexed in and purchased. Well, that was supposed to be a road, but that changed. So New Haven can change too. And it really is upsetting to hear that in their original plan, New Haven was not open, but the village wants it open. The village is pushing for this, and I don't know what their motivation is for it. What is their motivation? Nobody can ever answer that. So that's all.
Thank you very much, Ms. Palumbo. All right, come forward.
Just real quick, because you already passed up my row.
Oh, sorry.
My name is Karen Hedberg, 1321 Geneva Lane, and I just want to comment on everyone speaking about New Haven, and while that is obviously the biggest concern, there's also Cimarron, which then goes to Geneva, which then goes to Collins, which connects through. So there's 2 connections there. And whoever's coming from whichever direction that you're coming from, if you're coming from 31 in Algonquin area and you go through the Cary-Algonquin Road, you're going to cut through Cimarron, and you're going to go right through Geneva and Collins to New Haven. And if you're coming from the other direction, then you're going to go through New Haven. So there's going to be 2 traffic routes which are going to fundamentally change Cary, period. The whole entire neighborhood will be fundamentally changed. Obviously, there's not one person here who's in favor of this, and so we appreciate, the questions and everything that you guys are doing. But yes, I just want to reiterate that it's fundamentally changing the entire neighborhood.
Thank you very much. Let me do this. Let me give an opportunity to the people that have not had a chance to speak. So who's remaining that wants to speak? All right, we got 3, so whoever wants to go first.
Good evening. Thank you for taking the time and addressing all our concerns, and I really appreciate, I know we're going way past, so I'll try and be quick. Forrester Fay, I'm on 1527 Summerhill Lane, original owner, been here since 2003, so 22 years. Couple quick questions. How much revenue is going to Cary and how much is going to Crystal Lake on this? Because we're talking about this big number, and how much do we get and how much does Crystal Lake get? And if and then are we splitting the police and fire then? Or are we getting partial revenue and doing all the response time, so then Cary's responsible for providing shorter times? That's one thing I wanted to ask. In discussing how many developments are going up, we talked about there's 400 units behind Walmart, 100 units, I believe, at Redwood, and you said that there's 38 units going up here. Not to mention what's going on by the old Walmart, and the one on Three Oaks. Yeah.
Richfield Park, that's
Yeah.
38.
No, but that's right here, but the one you were talking about earlier. The Springs. So I don't know how many units that is. No, that's the one by Walmart. Oh, that's the one, okay, okay. All these names. So what is going to, with the existing ones that have come in recently, like the one behind Walmart, what is the occupancy rate? Because if that's not filling up, and we're putting at least 538 units just off of rough count, plus I don't know what it is at the one in Walmart, the old Walmart, we're going to have a lot more people in this area, and at $1,600 to $2,900 a month, that's like a $400,000 purchase price. That's like, if you split the difference, it's like $2,300 a month. If they don't get 16 and they don't get 29, split the middle, that's a $400,000 home. So I don't know how many townhomes on New Haven are going for 400,000. So what is the benefit to have that price point? And then if they, and I guess this question is for you, I know you've got a track record and you're coming into a really suburban community, and what if you don't get 50% occupancy rate? What if you're below that? What if you're 40%, you're not turning a profit? At what, you hold on to 17 years, you're holding on to properties, this is gonna be a loss leader. And then what are you gonna do to keep that going? Because we now have 538 units that are coming in within probably 2 miles. Am I probably? So, and then my other question is, was there security, in addressing number 2, was there a security study that was done to determine to go from business to multifamily? Because I know that Walmart is one of the most hit places in our area. They have 911, I think it was it last year? I think it was like over 100 calls. So when they're robbing that, they're going right onto 31. If they're robbing it and there's an outlet, they're going to go right down New Haven. And we've already had a number of manhunts in our backyards just from those robberies. So that's 100 calls that are happening at Walmart. So that's one security study I wanted to ask about. And then the other thing, so when they built Walmart, we knew that there was going to be congestion, and Three Oaks kind of absorbed that connection from 31 to not 14, but to get to 14 and kind of offshoot. You don't have to go all the way up to the 14. You're cutting over Three Oaks. So Three Oaks is kind of like everybody coming up and coming south cuts over on Three Oaks. So is there a study that was done prior to an expansion on Three Oaks that would show, because Three Oaks now is overloaded, what the projection was and how much more over that projection is now than what it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, probably before Cambria was even built? I think that should be studied, because that's exactly what's going to happen to New Haven. Because we're projecting something, and now we actually know what Three Oaks was projected to happen. We're 20 years away from Three Oaks, New Haven, hitting those same numbers. So if there is a study on Three Oaks that shows that, I think we should probably consider that. Because you can look at New Haven all you want, but I think what's going to happen is whatever that traffic flow is, and they're already expanding Three Oaks, but I don't think it's going to absorb. I don't think New Haven's going to absorb all of it, but I definitely think there's too much pressure there, and it has to be relieved. And if you're going to relieve it, if we're not getting 100% of the revenue, why are we taking on Crystal Lake's problem? That's it. Thanks.
All right, well, thank you. So I know we have one last comment. Here's what I'm going to do, folks. We're running later than 9 o'clock now, so we're going to make this last gentleman our last comment. We're going to leave the public comment open, and it's pretty clear now that we're going to have to continue the meeting, period. And that's what we're going to do. And so we're going to leave the public comment period open. So for Mr. Voll, when we reconvene, probably on August the 7th, which is a Thursday at 6 p.m. right here, we'll come back to that. We'll keep going with public comment, but we're going to let the gentleman in the black come forward, and he'll be the last comment for night, and then I'll tell you what I think we're going to do for the petitioner moving forward, okay?
Damage Lack, 30 Montclair Drive, original resident also. Just some clarifications, and hopefully maybe we'll have answers at your next meeting. Earlier, there's a thing about Decker Drive and the issues you're having over there right now with people driving through. If I remember correctly, Decker Drive, there's only single-family houses there, right? We have townhomes, and they have townhomes where they didn't put enough parking in when it was originally approved, obviously. So they do park in the street. It's not the townhome people's fault. But whenever there's a party or something, our street becomes sort of a challenge. So I think the issues we're having with Decker right now, we're probably going to see much worse in ours. We also have 31 on one side, and there'd also be essentially Industrial Avenue with trucks on the other side and people getting out. So I think we have much busier roads that would be feeding into New Haven, and if we allow that to go through, then we're seeing on Decker, which is right now just a residential, essentially between Three Oaks and that side, and East Main. So I think whatever problems we're having over there, we're going to see on New Haven in spades, comparatively speaking. I also have one thing I've not seen really addressed tonight is what will happen with trucks on New Haven? Once again, we're on Industrial Drive. We have Sage. We have trucks that come up and down these roads all the time. They have to go somewhere. On the other side, we're going to have Route 31. Where are they going to go? Do you go through 3 stoplights and a bunch of traffic, or do you go through a neighborhood? I think that Mr. Collins already mentioned, you see trucks in our neighborhood already trying to get through. They just haven't done it because they can't. Once they finally can, how do you stop that? That's the question I have for right now. So what restrictions would we put on there, and how do we propose that we don't allow trucks on our street, and how do we enforce that? So I don't see that in any of the plans right now. And I also didn't see any of the plans on how we stop traffic on the other side. I hear about the mitigation of traffic, but there's no plan. And usually I learn at work, if there's no plan, it's not going to happen. You need to have the plan before you have the agreement. Also, lastly, I'm trying to keep this quick because I know we've been here all night. I work in Elgin, so I go up and down 31 all day long, go back and forth to work. So I know the traffic patterns on 31 south of here. I go out to Three Oaks, and then I come down, I go back around. I also know on the way home, it's like follow the ants. If you look ahead and you see traffic lights down below, you dive off on Clazen. You go a little, if you don't see traffic lights, you go a little further. If you don't see traffic lights, or if you do see traffic lights, you dive off on Central Park, and then you come up Lutter. If you don't see enough traffic lights then you go up to Three Oaks. We're going to give someone another option now, where if you see traffic lights, if you see tail lights up in front of you, you now have somewhere to turn off. No traffic lights, no traffic, straight through a neighborhood. How do we prevent that? Thanks, that's all I really have for now. I know we're trying to go home. So.
No, thank you very much.
Those are my main ones. Like I said, I know that traffic pattern. Like, I've been driving it for 10 years now. You dive off as soon as you possibly can because you do not want to go to Three Oaks.
Thank you very much. All right, so folks, it's been a long night.
One really quick.
All right, come on.
I don't even need to come up for it, just to
Well,
let
you do.
know that,
You got to state your name and address for the record.
Mary Speakerman, 160 Savoy Drive. The night that you're picking for the continuance is National Night Out. for
Okay,
beer.
thank you.
See, you didn't read my name for that, I just want to let you.
Okay, so, yeah, just so we're aware here that one of the requirements of our committee is that we follow the procedures. I've talked to council, and we know we can't get through the application tonight, and we've already gone over the time limit, and I have not closed the public comment. So that's a legality that we can't undo. Now, I know, Mr. DeRosa, you may have some questions. You're welcome to present those. I think we have some feedback for yourself, and happy to accommodate whatever comments you have to close.
It was really to piggyback the last comment regarding the date, the August 7th date, besides the conflict just previously noted. In light of feedback we've heard so far, and maybe feedback that I'm expecting, Mr. Chairman, that you're going to relay to me at this point, if the scope of the revised traffic study is along the lines of what you alluded to earlier this evening, in order to get those traffic counts done, get the report completed, reviewed by the third-party consultant of the village, August 7th is rushing that.
Okay,
And
thank
I
you.
prefer for us to have the adequate time to make sure we address that. thoroughly, so that when we come back before you, we can conclude the discussion on some of those items.
That's greatly appreciated. So let me, and it's not just traffic, but that's a fundamental discussion. I think there would be some value if you can, and I'm going to leave it to your judgment. You're the petitioner, and you're the one that has to provide the facts to us so that we can reach a conclusion. But I think there needs to be a discussion, in my opinion, about home values and whether or not the through street could impact. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I have no idea. But I have nothing in front of me that supports a conclusion either way, and neither does anyone else.
And just to clarify, is that statement or opinion of value from a third party that you're looking for, is that only as a result of the road, or is it a result of the project? If you could clarify, please.
Yeah, it's a result of your statement and your response to our plan unit development, and specifically the MAP standard, which talks about item number 8, and this is in your presentation, and I'll repeat it: property values of the surrounding and adjacent property will not be diminished. And the response is, property values of the surrounding and adjacent property will not be diminished. The burden is on you, sir. And so I would suggest that there be some value in providing some substance to that comment, like where does the data come from?
Sure.
It's like the $40 million question, right? So it's a similar proposition. So thank you very much. I've appreciated the way you folks have conducted yourself and your organization, highly professional. And so I think the key question now is that if we're talking about not August 7th, Frank, you have a question?
I just had a comment, if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
please.
Comment based off of public comment?
Sure.
One young lady asked out there earlier, who makes the decision on this? Is it the board or is it us? The way we work as a zoning board is we make a recommendation. The final decision will be the board, your elected board of trustees. Okay, just so you understand. We take all this, digest it, chew it up, ask all the questions we have tonight, and give them our recommendation or non-recommendation. Then they make their decision based off of that. Just so that, just wanted to answer that one
No,
question.
that's a great comment, Frank. So let me be clear on this, and I really want to be respectful of the time because I'm now 30 minutes over. I can tell you, as the chair of this committee for nearly 10 years, and Mr. Simmons and I were talking about this the other day, our elected officials think very critically about the recommendations that we make, both yay and nay. And in my recent experience, I can think of 0 times that they have not supported the recommendations coming out of this committee. They take very seriously, I think, what this committee recommends. So to the comment that was coming out of there, they listen very, very critically to what we say. And I think that's an important part of the process to recognize. But at the end of the day, Mr. O'Loughlin is 100% correct. At the end of the day, the buck stops with them. That's the process. All right, did you have anything else, Mr. DeRosa?
No, thank you for the time. You ran
thank you.
a very well-run meeting. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Just for clarification purposes, so if we're continuing the hearing, we would need to continue it to a date specific.
Exactly.
So from my understanding, from a response time period, the 7th would not be feasible from that perspective.
That's right.
Is there,
I think it'd be helpful to be provided a scope on the traffic study, because we were provided the scope initially, and that's what we followed. So before we go ahead and engage a new scope, I don't want to guess at it. So if village staff could provide a scope that you're looking for as a board.
Sure. I think from what I'm suggesting is that, the hearing be continued to a date certain, which our next zoning board date would be August 14th. And if we have determined before we get to that date that there still needs to be time to review or complete the analysis, that there's the ability to continue it again if necessary.
Okay.
But at least that way the hearing is continued to a specific date. And if we're able to meet that date, there's the ability to continue it again. And we can work from there, from that standpoint, so that at least there's no additional public notice needs to be done if we don't set a date this evening.
That's fine.
And Mr. DeRosa, I want to be fair to you because that's our job. Is the 14th not acceptable? Are you saying you want to push it to the 21st? I don't know how this is going
It's
to work.
hard because I don't know exactly what the scope is, so I can't commit my consultant to do it without knowing what's being asked of him. Because it takes time, it's a process to go collect traffic data.
So just to be fair to you, and Mr. Simmons knows this better than I do, the reason why we're trying to nail down a date, because if we don't and we leave, then you got to publish again. And that's a whole procedure that'll take us 30 days. you know.
What is, if I may ask, the meeting date after the 14th is what?
I'm looking at the next regular scheduled meeting date for this board is it's the second Thursday of each month, to be September 11th. Would be the next regular scheduled date, but certainly if we were
We can
to
accommodate.
pick another date, we can, a Thursday evening, we can schedule, you know, from that.
21st?
standpoint. The 21st or 28th. Yeah,
21st of August.
correct.
I'm
Is
gonna
that-
go to my traffic consultant and
Yeah,
put him on the spot here.
It's fine. Take your time, take your time. Important discussion. All right, so we're going to make a decision here with council included and Mr. Simmons included. Here's what's going to happen to Mr. Rizzo. If we all leave here tonight and we don't, because I understand exactly where you are, I'm putting you in an awkward spot, and we're going to be fair to you, the petitioner, and we're going to be fair to the residents. If we leave here tonight and there's no date, then we have to reschedule the meeting in its totality. That's the way it's going to work. And that's why Mr. Simmons is looking for a specific date. And if we get to the 21st and you're not ready, we'll continue it again. We can easily do that.
Okay.
So
Then
I
I think
think
it would make sense to go with August 21st at this
Okay.
point.
Yeah, and certainly if, from the public's perspective of knowledge-wise, so the hearing will be continued specifically to, August 21st at 6 PM, same place, same location. If, for whatever reason, the information that is requested this evening is not produced at that time, the meeting could be continued again, but we will publicize that in the village website, in the village hall as well, at what date that meeting will be continued to as well. So that information will be continued to be updated should the 21st not be feasible from that standpoint.
And if I could also ask one follow-up question so we can make sure we come back as prepared as possible. To the balance of the board, are there any other comments, questions, things that you want us to address that have not been discussed? You know, traffic, property values are really the two deliverables, it sounds like, that are of issue, most significance. Is there anything else that you need more clarification on that we can provide in advance of the next meeting?
I think we've covered it, Mr. DeRosa.
I think so too,
yeah,
but I needed to
yeah.
ask.
Yeah, no, I think it's
Yeah.
a fair
I want a
comment.
full hydrological study.
All right.
I'm kidding.
All right, so thank you, Mr. DeRosa. I think you've got your plan of action. Now we have a date, and I want to say all of you that have been patient through the process, thank you very much. I've personally appreciated the way you've conducted yourself. I think it speaks volumes to who Carrie is in the community. So thank you very much, and we'll see you again on August the 21st, 6 PM, right here. And if not, we'll let you know, okay? So,
Motion to close? No, motion to
continue.
keep open? What is it?
Motion to continue.
Motion to continue.
so moved.
Second.
Close it.
Thank you.
Motion adjourned.
Take a-
Meeting adjourned.
Hold on, Motion
Motion to
yeah,
continue to the 21st.
Correct.
All right,
And we roll call.
thank you. Nice to see you.
Hold on.
We'll see you at the next meeting. Okay, you bet.